facts I'm pounding. Right paths, don't look for a pancake map. Pilots laugh at the claims, leave them in the gap. Gyroscopes hum truths, keep the planes aligned. While first play jigsaw with a missing mind. Right paths, don't look for a pancake map. Pilots laugh at the claims, leave them in the gap. Gyroscopes hum truths, keep the planes aligned. While first play jigsaw with a missing mind. Round we spin, yeah, facts go relentless. Empirical proof, got 'em feeling defenseless. Curious UK globe with rhymes resounding. First can't touch these facts I'm pounding.
Spinning truth round the axis, that's a factual ride. Flirts fumbling hard, trying to run and hide. We got that gravity pulling, you just drifting through. Science slaps empirical, stick to the glue. Round pound, sharper minds, we probe for the real. History stacked tall, experiments that seal. Curious minds, globe-trot evidence rolls deep. While flirts count shadows, we night sky sweep. Narrative standards flex with them shadow lines. Measured Earth's curve, no conspiracy signs. Dropping mics like Newton when his apple fell. Maths to beat, y'all theory stale like a cell. Foucault's pendulum swinging to expose. Rotation so true, no flerf can oppose. Telescopes beaming, Copernican frames. Centuries stacking, flirts out of their games. Round pound, sharper minds, we probe for the real. History stacked tall, experiments that seal. Curious minds, globe-trot evidence rolls deep. While flirts count shadows, we night sky sweep. Launching satellites, proof in the pics. Flirt screaming tricks, we dropping data bricks. Physics and logic on a level supreme. It's a curved reality, splitting flirt dreams. Launching satellites, proof in the pics. Flirt screaming tricks, we dropping data bricks. Physics and logic on a level supreme. It's a curved reality, splitting flirt dreams.
Hey people, how's it going? Welcome into Curious UK Debunks with a flirty flirt. Just don't stop. Just prove the derp and have some fun while doing it. How's everybody going? Doing there? How's it going there? Canadian Speaks Advocate, nice to see you there. I know you've been hanging out for a while. Lindsay Bow, nice to see you there too. Welcome in, welcome in. Yeah. So how's everybody doing here? Ready for another week? We're gonna have another week here, a bit of fun. And going over a few things. So I'm going to continue on with what I was doing on Wednesday, where we were checking out that Mark Sargent's Strange World, and he has his special guest there, Mark Gober, or as I like to call him, Mark Goober. So we're going to kind of continue on with that a little bit. I'm not going to touch on the all the other stuff I did last time with Charlie Kirk stuff and all that. That seems to be going all over the place. And but I was trying. I only want. It kind of seems like it's all up in the air. Who cares? Who knows what's going with that? So we're gonna leave that alone for now. And did anybody check out that Mikey Smith at the Science Center? That was fun, man. He's a pretentious asshole, isn't he? Holy shit. Fuck, I tell you. I mean, even him throwing those all those pamphlets all over the floor and stuff like that, like, and one of these days he is going to get sparked out. One of these days, 100%, somebody is going to put, he's not going to be in his car, and somebody is just going to smack him hard. He's going to see the wrong thing, the wrong person, because he seems to have this attitude like he's untouchable. It's just going to happen. Somebody one of these days is going to spark him out and walk away, and he's going to maybe try to call the police, but he's going to rub that many people the wrong way that nobody's going to back him up, and you're going to probably have a lot of people going, I didn't see anything. I have no idea who that was. Don't know where they are. Didn't see where they went. So he needs to watch himself. Look, if he doesn't like the Science Center, if he doesn't like this stuff, he just needs to stay away from that. He's just ruining people's days, and he thinks he has the right to do that, but the Canadian Charter of Rights also gives people the right to be able to have sanctity and be able to enjoy themselves and not to be harassed, and that's exactly what he's doing. And so the man needs to stop it. Oh, had to get more vegetable soup? Oh, means it's all right. You know, get your soup there, Canadian Space Advocate. It's all right, buddy. He went nuts last night in his hometown, did he, Mikey Smith? Holy shit, right? Oh. Did he really? He went nuts. Oh, was it that bad, Lindsay? I was only having a laugh, really. Like I said, what happened there? Obviously, a lot more people see it than I did. Um, he must have been loud or something there. I don't know what went on there. And I know the man's like 20 odd years old. I don't know why his mom's treating him like that. Um, I was just only, I said, it was only just, I thought it was a funny situation, and everybody just kind of went, and then like made a joke and then moved on. So it was all in good fun. I really did try to do it in like a lighthearted way. I was saying, oh, man, we should have been, maybe be more quiet next time. But yeah. If I've heard his, if there's something wrong, if he's offended or anything like that, just tell him, just drop me a message, drop me an email and stuff. I'll take it down if it's that bad. But honestly, I just thought it's just a bit of banter, a bit of fun, right? I was nothing malicious behind it. So hey, Calder, how's it going? All right, so we are going to check out. Sorry, I was reading the chat there a little bit. Right. Stop these sleep ones. All right, we're gonna go over to this thing here. The chat's still not working, eh? I don't know what was up with this stupid. All right, let's try that again. I don't know what's going on here. Oh, there it goes. All right, the chat on the side of the screen there should be working now, so hopefully. I understand, Lindsay. I understand. Right, so we're going to. Is it? It's still not working. I'm about ready to bin off this this whole thing. Oh, there it is. CK, hopefully CK pops in. It's always nice. I haven't seen her for a while. Right, okay, so we're gonna check out this this live stream I was doing on Wednesday. Just gonna crack on with this a little bit more. And it's this Mark Gober, who's he's chatting about his book he wrote and some stuff like that. And if you remember, he used to be in finance, and then he got out of it and he started to write books, and he went down the conspiracy rabbit holes, and then he went deeper and deeper until he got into flat Earth. And obviously makes a whole flat Earth claims. He tried to debunk it, he couldn't. Blah blah blah. So yeah, we're gonna say he's not a very smart man. So let's just move on with this. Oh, hold on here. Let me turn the sound on.
Compatible with basic spiritual principles. So that was something I had seen in a lot of political and economic books. Of actually, this anti-freedom
Blue Jays actually doing well this year, man. I haven't seen them. I've seen their I've seen the Blue Jays in their was it 1993 World Series where they went that against was the Atlanta Braves. Remember, crap, that was a long time ago. I did actually remember watching that. Unfortunately, they didn't win, but it's good to see if they're doing well. That's good. I like the Blue Jays.
in America, we consider ourselves to be a pretty free place, but we're still governed by a compulsory political monopoly. That we didn't sit down with the service provider of government and write a contract together that we mutually agreed upon and say, okay, this is the service you're going to provide, and this is how much we're going to pay you, and this is how we terminate the contract. We do that everywhere else except in government. In government, we have a social contract that no one's ever seen. So we have this implied consent, which allows government to then impose its will on people without our explicit consent. Even the notion of democracy, it's the majority imposing its will on the minority. And so these are the ideas that I get into, which I had been so indoctrinated by. I mean, I used to think of government as an entity that's here to protect us versus something that's inherently coercive or something that could be dangerous. And that having that compulsory political monopoly is incompatible with natural law. That's the case I make in the book.
Hey, Max, how's it going? Welcome in. Hey, how's it going? Welcome in. Hey. Hey there. How's it going there, buddy? I was watching your I don't know, Max, if he's actually, if DJ Curious is a DJ. He mentioned something about doing some event here, I think in this live stream, but don't take my word for it. I could be wrong, right? Or I could be talking crap. He's a flat earther.
So all your AP Gov, I'm assuming you took AP Government back in high school, just out the window. You're like, you know what? It's not lining up internally with what you're really. It's so crazy. So okay, are we at book 3 now? Would you say?
That's book 3. It came out in 2021, and then to Upside Down Liberty, and it was the one I was most nervous about actually, because the political realm can get people really heated up.
Don't worry there, Max. There's much more sus stuff that this Mark Gober brings up. That's it's a lot more sus than just, is DJ Curious really a DJ?
And I knew that a lot of my audience was left-leaning. Not everyone, but I knew I would upset them when I said that ideally we wouldn't have government at all, that we should leave people alone. And that's not going to be a perfect society either. That's not the case I'm making. It's what's worse. And the current...
As I said before, anarchy is probably not the best system. There needs to be some sort of structure or something to, especially in modern day with the way things are.
Status quo, I would argue, we've just become accustomed to the problems, so we're not as worried about them. And so there were a lot of people upset with me with that book, but I thought it was super important.
I can see you already just being like, okay, I'm ruffling all the feathers right now. Like, what am I doing? But you had this drive to keep going. What were you thinking at this point? You're like, what the hell? Because it's the way the world makes us feel, it's like us against the whole system, right? And you're like, am I missing something? So, but how does that lead into book 4? And what was book 4 about?
When I was writing book 3 and also just seeing everything that happened with COVID, I was wondering, how could there be such manipulation on a mass scale and so much censorship? What are the dark forces involved in this world? And how could it be that we're governed by a body that is inherently violating natural law? How could society be structured that way? What are the forces that we might not necessarily see? And once you...
How is it violating natural law? I'm not exactly sure where he's going with that. I think he's throwing some words out here that out of context. Something that phrase made no sense in what he was talking about.
Start exploring realms of consciousness like I did in my first book. It makes possible all sorts of things. Angels, demons, whatever you want to call them, and probably different species of beings in different realms. And that's what the next book is about, An End to Upside Down Contact. It's about UFOs, aliens, spirits. They probably are called different things by different people, and throughout history, they've been called different things. The point is that there are other intelligences out there that likely have been intervening in human history, and the things that we call myths or religious lore that actually might be history. So,
So this guy's definitely gone down all the rabbit holes. You name it, he's been down that one. He's just been going down one after another. I mean, he's really just Alice in Wonderland, really.
It raises a lot of questions. That book, I don't draw many firm conclusions about big things, but I don't think we're alone. And I think this has been going on for a very long time. So there's some general...
If he believes in aliens, then he doesn't believe the Earth is flat. Because you can't have aliens that come from outer space and have a flat Earth at the same time. Those two just don't go together.
Things I feel good about, but the specifics are less clear. And so in that book, I describe a Venn diagram of, like, if you see something in multiple different places, it's the overlap of the Venn diagram, or maybe that thing might be more likely to be true. But I just tried to give a survey of that space, because when I research the phenomenon, if we want to call it contact, I don't think there's anyone who understands it. It's such a mysterious thing, and it's probably because it's such an interdimensional thing.
You're just making so many people happy out there right now. They're like smiling. They're like, right on, because a lot of us who get to flat Earth and get to this point of like all bets are off, anything's possible, we have a similar trajectory. It's almost like this formula that some sort of higher power is helping people kind of tear down the veil. And when you start going, okay, all of a sudden going from the finance guy to consciousness is not in the body, and maybe there's the way, the system has been manipulating us and going against your education, and then having to dive into, oh my God, there's entities that I can't describe. Maybe
remember, his education is in finance. It has nothing to do with science or cosmology or anything like that. he's a finance guy. He's he learned finance. He learned like how to balance books, how to probably do some maths and stuff like that. But yeah, he's nothing to do with the science. This is completely different wheelhouse. He's decided to dive down some rabbit holes and come up with some off the wall fringe theories and write some books and claims that now he's an expert in this. All he's done is just made up some fantasy.
Maybe they're, but you hadn't got the flat earth yet. So at that point, you're like, they could be aliens, they could be spiritual beings or whatever, dimensional. So how does that kind of, because I know the thread and a lot of people watching know the thread. They're like, you're kind of climbing down the rabbit hole further and further, getting closer and closer to like, you're ready for the big one. The earth is not where you think it is. It's not doing what you think it was doing. And it's not even curving at all. So,
right. Well, that's book 4 in the contact book in 20.
And that's because they're stupid and can't even do a simple thing like measure the fucking curvature of the earth, which is really not that hard. Go somewhere like salt flats, go to somewhere like an ocean and watch, salt flats and look and see where mountains, you can't see the bottom, the base of the mountains, but you should be able to, or go to somewhere like like I said, the ocean or like the Great Lakes or something and watch as boats disappear bottom up. And even if you have a lot of refraction, you don't have a lot of, disturbance or distortion, you'll still see them disappear bottom up. That's the curvature, boys.
2022. And then there was a lot of political discord at the time. People were still fighting. And I was frustrated a lot by what I was seeing on the left, more so than what I was seeing on the right, because leftism is veiled in this vision of compassion. It's what
Hey CK, how's it going? Canadian space advocate, some astronomers and physicists go into finance. Some similar, but math more money. Yeah. So some similar math, but yeah. Well, yeah, math is math, right? You gotta think about it. Like, he's always done finance, and then you deal with the maths, right? A lot of math, money is just math, numbers, right? So yeah, physicist who deals with numbers and probably the complex equations, going into some very simpler equations, easy translation. And you obviously got some, like you said, some astronomers going into that. Astronomers who once again have dealt with really complex calculations and stuff, going into finance. Yeah, make more money, so much more simpler maths. So and probably better hours and stuff like that. So yeah. Hey, Jim Daniels, how's it going? CK, nice to see it. I see Spin. Hey, buddy, how's it going there?
we care so much, and therefore we can do these things. We have a moral superiority. And I noticed that was being used on global or worldwide sociological agendas, including the Great Reset, which is the World Economic Forum's agenda. It's not a conspiracy theory. There's a book called COVID-19, The Great Reset, written by Klaus Schwab and his colleague Thierry Malloret, that lays out a vision for society. And it's not just political, it's not just economic, it's cultural, it's environmental, i.e. the climate agenda, it's technological and metaphysical. So I broke down the Great Reset for people who hadn't heard of it to say these are the 6 categories: culture, politics, economics, environment, i.e. climate, technology, and metaphysics, to say this is what very powerful people want to do in order to take away our freedom, basically. And I go through the psychology of leftism to explain how there's a wolf in sheep's clothing. Because if you read the book by Klaus Schwab, it sounds nice and compassionate. He wants to make the world a better place. But if you look behind the veil, things that sound good sometimes don't actually do good things in practice. And I felt like it was important to expose that, because that agenda, whether it's called the Great Reset today or something in the future, whether it's been called something in the past, to me, it's a metaphysical enslavement agenda to really keep people disconnected from the spiritual reality. In the Great Reset, it's not about a spiritual Great Reset. They're not talking about consciousness in that way. To me, that would be the Great Reset, is to help people understand the innate spirituality here, but that's not what they're talking about. They're talking about controlling people under the guise of keeping people safe. So I felt like it was important to write that book. And then there was a little bit of a lull. I wasn't sure what would come next. I ended up going to a conference in Franklin, Tennessee, run by Courtney Turner, the Courtney Turner podcast. And I was hanging out with Alex Zeck of The Way Forward and Mike Winter of Alpha Vedic. And they were coming out with a series that I recommend to your audience. It's called The End of COVID, available at theendofcovid.com. It's a library of 100 plus hours of interviews and panels. I was asked to be on 3 different panels, but it was about my political and socioeconomic things. So into the Upside Down Reset and into Upside Down Liberty. But because I partook in that, I was able to watch the other videos. And there were doctors on there, Dr. Tom Cowan, Dr. Mark Bailey, Dr. Andrew Kaufman, Dr. Sam Bailey. Serious people, very cool. Very smart. And they were talking about challenges to the germ theory of disease and whether viruses even exist, or in the alternative, are there other reasons people get sick that don't require invoking this imaginary intracellular parasite that no one has ever actually found? Certainly, they've seen things under an electron.
Except for the fact that bacteria, viruses, and different things like that do exist, and we do observe them. You can look up what the flu virus looks like, or even yourself. You could go into, buy yourself a microscope and look at single cell organisms and stuff under that. Not difficult. In fact, this shit's done in freaking high schools.
microscope, but they're looking at a still image of something that's not actually infecting anything. And they say, well, that's the thing that is infecting and going from one organism to another. So it's inference on top of inference. So they're working from unpurified samples, all the stuff I didn't know. So it led me down the medicine rabbit hole. And I was very hesitant to write that book, to challenge the allopathic model, because it sounded really crazy to me to say, maybe these microscopic things, well, viruses, maybe they don't even exist. And bacteria and large parasites and fungi, maybe those appear when an organism has a lot of toxicity, and they're like a cleanup crew. So we end up blaming the firefighters for putting out the fire, by analogy, when in fact they're just...
No, there's literally invasive. You get black mold and you're fucking sick. I've seen, black mold can be a problem in the UK here because it's obviously a very moist country, very old houses. You get some old wood, gets into the walls, and people get sick, get freaking sick. I mean, sometimes even hospitalized sick. So yeah, and that's mold spores and stuff getting into your lungs, getting into your pathways, causing problems. So yeah, this shit is fucking real. And the fact if he's claiming these people are doctors and denying it, they're not really doctors then. I highly doubt they're doctors. There's a lot of people out there like Stephen Alonso who claim that they got PhDs, claim they have their doctorates, but then we ask for them to show a dissertation, to show the credentials, or to even say which university they went to get the PhDs. They seem to kind of forgot where to do that, and they seem to not know or not want to give this information. And mainly because it's like the whole stolen valor sort of thing. I think a lot of people make these claims and they give themselves their own thing. Or I could right now just write on my freaking my page, PhD, BS, MBA, and say, yeah, there you are. I now have a master's in MSc, the master's in science with a PhD, and say, yeah, there you are. I can start saying that and just run around just saying this to everybody. And they say, oh no, if people ask, oh no, I've left that world behind. I don't want to do it anymore. I got out of it 10 years ago, 15 years ago. Yeah. Freaking, so where was it? Oh, you wouldn't know it. It's a university in northern Saskatchewan somewhere. Right? Just fucking make this shit up. It is closed down, went bankrupt. Fucking whatever, right? You said moist. Moist. Jim Daniels, moist. Yeah, Victoria, nice to see you. Welcome in. How's it going? Jim Daniels, obviously we got CK in here. We have some of the zoo crew. Awesome.
Just putting out the fire. So the notion of contagion, are there other reasons to explain why people might be in the same place and get sick, like toxicity or psychospiritual issues or EMFs? There are many reasons that don't require microbes. Okay. And I had never heard this stuff before. So I said, you know what, got to do it. Wrote that book. And when I wrote the book, Into Upside Down Medicine, published in the fall of 2023, people were saying to me, okay, Mark, you see the logical fallacies in medicine. You have to look at cosmology now.
You're like, why? It's all settled for us. We're going at, but then you kind of realize, okay, yeah, let's get to that, because that's exciting, obviously, for all of us over here.
That's what led me there. And I'd heard Dave Weiss on some podcasts before, and I remember thinking he had a lot of interesting points that I didn't have answers to. But the cosmology question requires unwinding so many different things, because you're looking at basic elements of physics, geophysics, cosmology. There's a lot more that you have to unwind there than you have to do in medicine, and I hadn't had the time to do that yet. So when the people that I respected in the medical field were telling me to look at cosmology, I took it seriously. And that also coincided with a book by Dr. Stephen A. Young. He's a theoretical physics PhD.
Excuse me, what does the medical field have anything to do with cosmology? I mean, they're not really even close to the same kind of science. I mean, there's a lot of different stuff. I couldn't go down to my doctor right now and ask him how, explain the three body problem to me. He probably wouldn't have an idea. He explained to me how viruses and bacteria and different pathogens work, but you probably couldn't explain. I couldn't go to my local observatory and ask him how pathogens work and explain to me how a virus enters into a cell, or how the common cold, how it mutates. Probably wouldn't have a freaking idea. But you could tell me exactly how the sun works and what elements they are and stuff like that. So they are different, right? People devote their lives to these certain sciences, and they don't normally cross over, especially going from cosmology to medicine and medicine and cosmology. They kind of don't, they're completely different wheelhouses.
Who wrote A Fool's Wisdom. It came out in April of 2024, and I read it when it came out, and a lot of people were talking about it. And he said, I can't tell you with 100% certainty what this place is.
All right, hold on here. He makes a claim here, and this is what I kind of want to get onto.
That you have to unwind there than you do. The cosmology question requires unwinding so many different things, because you're looking at basic elements of physics, geophysics, cosmology. There's a lot more that you have to unwind there than you have to do in medicine, and I hadn't had the time to do that yet. So when the people that I respected in the medical field were telling me to look at cosmology, I took it seriously. And that also coincided with a book by Dr. Stephen A. Young. He's a theoretical physics PhD who wrote A Fool's Wisdom.
By the way, he's not.
It came out in April of 2024, and I read it when it came out, and a lot of people were talking about it. And he said, I can't tell you with 100% certainty what this place is, but I can tell you with 100% certainty what it's not, and it's not a spinning globe. And that was stunning to me, someone with that level of education. And he started off actually trying to disprove globe skepticism, flat Earth, because he thought it was stupid. Mm-hmm. And he got to the point where he realized, actually, I can't prove the globe. There are too many anomalies here. And for some.
So he's claiming a physicist, PhD with master's in science, PhD in quantum physics, and also the guy claims he's got a PhD in nuclear engineering. Could not disprove the flat Earth theory like that. Now let me just get on to this, because this is where it kind of falls apart for him. He makes a reference to this man here, right? So this man here is what he was talking about. This is Dr. quote unquote Stephen Young, right? Now what I could find, I did quite a bit of research because I found out this because he claimed he was a physicist. I went, a physicist that believes in flat Earth. Holy shit! I'm gonna fucking look into this. There's something seems dubious to me. This is his own website, by the way. Okay, StephenYoung.uk, right? And he's a man who lives up in Scotland. Apparently, claims he went to University of Scotland. Won't say what university. Okay, so he this is Master's of Science, PhD in theoretical physics, 20+ years in post-academic de-indoctrination. So now suddenly he's going to take everything he learned. Philosopher and musician, alchemist, fool, red pill, black pill, and white pill. Author of the book Fool's Wisdom, Science, Conspiracies, and Secret Art of Alchemy. So he also does music. So he decided to get out of that and do music. Now he also claims, this is my research, he claims that he was a professor, but he has never provided a signal on where he was a professor at. There's no what is it? They call it what was that? Here, I was doing some stuff here. So I did some searches. I couldn't find anything where he had any kind of dissertations. No dissertations could found. No papers ever written by him. No faculty notes. There's nothing where he's on any kind of what do you call it? We are alumni. There's no alumni that list him anywhere. There's not a single paper. He claims that he was a PhD. I said he was a professor, but there's nothing that is could say by him. What I found out, he's not a professor. There's absolutely no records whatsoever to say he's a professor. The only records there are is his own claims, either claims he's made on podcasts, claims he's made on his own book, or claims that he's made his own website. Now, there's not a single record anywhere to collaborate that this man has anything, right? He claims he's and there's some websites where actually this professor or this doctor doesn't actually list to be a doctor at all. He says that he's just so even on here, if you go down to his bibliography, his author musician, is an author musician philosopher recognized for his work under the music alias Headflux, and author of Fool's Wisdom, Science, Cosmology. He says with a background in theoretical physics, holding both a Master's of Science and a PhD, Stephen is carved. And he claims he got out of it at 25 years old, and that was it. So he got to his point where he got his PhD, his Master's of Science, and then dropped out. Yeah, exactly. He lied no way. There's absolutely no record of this man ever teaching, ever having even anything. There's nothing even in any kind of LinkedIn, fucking nothing, right? So what this fella, what Mark Gober's claiming is that he's taken this guy at his word, right? Just like Stephen Alonso, who claims that he's a guy, he's a doctor and a professor at a university. Ignoring the fact this is his own university he made up, and he gave himself a doctorate because he wanted to. This man is the same thing. He's a fraud. There's absolutely nothing here. And I found a few posts of people questioning and asking, and nobody can even respond to that. This where he's put stuff up, people refer to this man. So yeah, he's a fraud. And this is why he's a flyer. Even when I asked Grok AI, I said, tell me how many physicists in the world have put out the flat Earth theory, and it said none. Could not find anything. I also asked to dive in to find any papers this guy's put out, any links anywhere, anything, and cannot find anything other than, in fact, his own book. So Mark Gober he fell for a fraud, and well, as most flat earthers do, he's just drank the Kool-Aid. So yeah, so he refers to this guy quite a bit and says he's a doctor and he followed this, but he's not. He's just a in fact, he practices alchemy, and he he claims that he can play sound to heal any and all ailments, and that he's an alchemist. So if that says anything, going from a physicist to being an alchemist, right? That's seeing right there. So yeah, he looks the part of being kind of a crackpot. Now alchemy. Now I would say now there is things like alchemy where you can take two elements and put them together, which is what they called alchemy. But then that's usually called. You can also call that chemistry and other things as well, right? Alchemy can literally be like combine metals and make an alloy. That could be considered alchemy. Essentially, all alchemy is just combining two elements to make something different. Now, back in the day, that I was seeing as magic and like this. Now we see it's just basic science.
Someone to come out publicly with that level of education is, I said, okay, I have to look at this. And I went to Confluence in Bandera, Texas that year, and a lot of people were asking me, Mark, what do you think about Shape of Earth? And I was like, well, I haven't looked at this really. Why does it matter? And then after that, I was taking the nudges, and I went down the rabbit hole and saw very quickly there are problems in mainstream cosmology, from the Big Bang to heliocentrism to Earth's motion to the specific shape of Earth we're told. It's a very delicate balance of physics and sizes and distances that are required to uphold the mainstream model, and there are too many holes in it. And I think the reason I was comfortable with
the fact is he claimed all this stuff, but what that really says here is that Mark Gober is not a very smart man. He couldn't figure out the very basics of just like how to figure out the shape of the Earth. Like, I don't know, the fucking sun sets, and how to say on flat Earth it has to float above your head. Oh wait, the sun could never set. Hold on, wait a minute. How come there's a sharp horizon? The sharp horizon can only be if there's if the Earth has a curvature in which stuff is eventually disappearing over the curvature, and you're getting the sharp horizon. That is 100% predicted on the globe and not predicted on the flat Earth. Flat Earth would just keep going, and things would just start to fade and get smaller and fade away, right? Especially like something like land or something like that. From where I am, I should be able to see freaking Ireland, no problem. Guess what? I can't. You know why? Curvature of the Earth's in the fucking way.
With not only this book but others, is when the foundations have holes in them, where even the mainstream scientists say, yeah, that we don't understand that, I get comfortable.
I think species advocate philosophers can be alchemists. Some actually get stoned. Yeah. Kiwi Bush is like we do that, mixing metals. Yeah, mixing metals is like making alloys is technically a form of alchemy. I've never seen the Full Metal Alchemist. It's a great. I like that anime. It's a good one.
Saying, okay, this is something I can explore. So to me, the two areas, and I start my book with this.
Unfortunately, is like his book is free on Kindle, still not worth the price. I actually have a place that's not too far from me. It's called I just like the little libraries. The idea behind it is like a library you can go in, but you can take any book you want that you can own, right? So if you've done your books, you drop them off there. The good books, they put them up. Other people, it says like a book exchange. Every once in a while, I do go in there and try to find if there's any flat Earth or like the science style books, because I like to do kind of what MC Toon does, and look through a few and see if I can kind of get some ideas of where some of these people go from. I'm almost tempted to contact this fella, and maybe see if I can get him on. I think it'd be interesting to chat with him, the Stephen Young. He's from Scotland, and so you'd be in the same time zone, so it wouldn't be that difficult, I don't think. I think it'd be interesting. I should, wonder if I can reach out. Just get him on and chat with him and just see kind of where his nut job would be kind of, I don't know, might be interesting, might be kind of fun to listen to some of his crackpot ideas. And ask him some questions. See how you can answer them.
Number one is the mainstream model of physics requires 96% of the
Actually, honestly, I'd love to get Stephen Young and then like Craig McNeil on, both living in Scotland. Craig having a background in background in nuclear engineering, and this fella is saying he's got a degree or doctorate in nuclear physics. I think that would be really quite interesting because then I think Craig could probably suss him up pretty quick and ask him some questions that I'm not a nuclear engineer. I wouldn't know exactly how to probe, and maybe expose the guy. I think that'd be kind of cool.
To be dark matter and dark energy for everything to work. 96% is this unknown mystery stuff. And I didn't realize until researching for that book that dark matter, for example, was quote unquote discovered in 1933 because there was missing mass in a cluster of galaxies that Fritz Zwicky was looking at. And he said, well, wait, why are things moving in this way? If Einstein's gravity, known as relativity, were true, there should be much, much more mass here, but it's not there. And so he said, okay.
Doesn't relativity have to do with more of like gravitational pull and speeds and stuff? Like especially special relativity has to do with the gravitational effect on like the speeds close to or at the speed of light, and then general relativity has to do with more like just large masses and stuff like that. But I don't know so much, especially in general relativity, as far as I know, has never actually been falsified, and it's worked for everything we've ever seen. Now we got like dark matter stuff. Dark matter is just something that it's a matter that we know is there, but doesn't interact with any kind of electromagnetic waves and stuff like that. So we can't see it. Doesn't interact with light, but we're able to measure it.
Okay, we discovered dark matter instead of saying we need to rethink Einstein and all of the basics of physics. So it was a plug-in, effectively, and now physicists have been looking at dark matter for many decades. And we have a prominent physicist, Pavel Krupa, an astrophysicist at the University of Bonn in Germany, saying that we have falsified dark matter. It's not there, and we have to rethink Einstein's relativity. So right there, we've got big problems because you need dark matter and dark energy to be there for mainstream cosmology to work. That's problem one. Problem number two is the two leading theories in physics, Einstein's relativity, which allegedly explains things on massive galactic scales, and the other leading theory, which is quantum mechanics, allegedly explaining things at the very, very small scales. We're told they work well on their own, but when you bring these theories together, the equations metaphorically blow up. They don't work. And as Michio Kaku said, he's a mainstream physicist, there's a crisis in cosmology.
Michio Kaku is actually a theoretical physicist, by the way. So he's a mainstream theoretical physicist. He's not a general physicist. And as for the was it Darren Nesbitt was another special one? Oh yeah, sure. Canadian space advocates like special relativity has to do with things that are close to the speed of light. Yeah, general relativity is about masses bending space time. Most of the time, Newtonian gravity works just fine. Yes, exactly. Yeah, 100%. Q Bush is like, who was the English bloke at the Dutch Flat Earth conference? Not this Stephen Young, right? So the guy, Kiwi Bush, I wouldn't know actually. I haven't seen any videos on the Dutch Flat Earth conference or stuff like that, so I wouldn't know. Yeah, gravity is matter scale. Yeah. But as far as I know, there are some physicists that are trying to find a way of being able to correlate or to like kind of find something that where your quantum physics and then your obviously galactic, your cosmology, or your gravitation, like your large, you can find something where it could kind of both, something that could explain both. Because right now we have like at the quantum scale, you have like the strong and weak, you have the nuclear force, the strong nuclear force, the weak nuclear force. You have the electromagnetic forces. You have those down at that scale. Because when you get down to the macro scale, then gravity isn't a dominant force. Then it's more like electromagnetism, the weak and strong nuclear forces, and you get into that. And then we get into the macro scale. Then those forces are too small to actually have effect on something large. And then, like, obviously, electromagnetism starts to have the charges start to negate each other. So you have the positive and negative charges. You get enough where a larger force where it neutralizes itself. You get and then that's when you get into the gravitational force, where there's gravitational attraction. When you get into the macro scale, and that's where it becomes a dominant force. Oh, it was Stephen Walker. All right. As Canadian Space Advocate you brought up is you need to calculate the effects of spectral relativity and general relativity for GPS calculations in everyone's cell phone. Yeah, and obviously the satellites have to account for that too, with the speeds to go at and how far they are from the outside the altitude from the center of the gravitational well being on Earth.
Off by a factor of 10 to the 120th power. So right there is no theory that unifies the leading theories in
hold on here.
10 to the 120. Michio Kaku said, he's a mainstream physicist, that there's a crisis in cosmology. We're off by a factor of 10 to the 120th power.
That is kind of what he's talking about. Is the what do they call it? The crap. I talked about this ages ago. Is cosmology compared to the what is it called? The cosmological constant, where you have the vacuum. What is it called? The vacuum density cosmology. The idea behind it is that we have forces out there compared to what we know. That cosmology, what we observe, and what is calculated, there is a difference to 10 to the power of 120. Now, what we observe, I think, is 10 to the power of 23. I could be wrong and have to look that up again. Is what was observed in cosmology. But theoretical physics, when in the calculations, theoretical physics, then there seems to be something that technically, as it gets bigger and bigger, then there tends to be a disparity of 10 to the power of 120. But that's only because it's the calculations that there's something we're not understanding, why there's a disparity compared to what the theoretical calculations are and what the observations are. So there isn't, it's more of a lack of our understanding. There's something that we're not quite getting, or something we haven't observed or being able to measure yet, but we're still working on it, because what we're observing is much less than what our theoretical calculations show that should be. So that's all that is. It's just a disparity between our calculations and observations.
So right there is no theory that unifies the leading theories in physics, Einstein's relativity and quantum, and dark matter and dark energy are required to fill in 96% of the universe. So off the bat, we should say we have no idea what's going on in cosmology, and therefore everything's on the table to be questioned.
No, that's because for the most part, we understand most of everything, but there is some little bits that we're still trying to figure out. We don't know everything, but what we do know, we are able to say we have evidence to support it. We have observations. We're able to make predictions, and it works. But yes, is there some things that we have, like, say, dark matter or dark energy, that we have a placeholder for? We know it's there, but we're still trying to figure out exactly what it is, what causes it, and how to measure it. Yes, we do, but that doesn't mean what we do know doesn't work. We just know that this works, and we have to and then to account for this, there's something else. There's this other thing, but doesn't mean we don't understand it. Doesn't mean everything's thrown out because we don't understand this one little thing. We understand everything up to this point, and we're trying to figure out this other thing. Hey, Real Cygnus, how's it going?
And that brings us to
To the break.
to break.
So unfortunately, we're gonna come back after 3 minutes.
All right, we're gonna skip this shit. Mark likes to do all his freaking
On to share cards with others.
He likes to do his grift, doesn't he? Oh, Mark Sargent doing his air drums. Good question there, Mark Gooney. Why do flerfs argue cutting edge science when they can't explain sunsets? Exactly.
Welcome back to
Shit.
Welcome back to Strange World, part 2 of 2. It's you, me, the always delightful DJ Curious, the always surly Peanut Gallery, and our special guest for the evening, Mark Gober. I don't even know where you are right now. Where are you?
I'm in Southern California right now.
Oh, nice.
Whoa. Me too.
Yeah, you and DJ
That's cool.
have lunch.
So close. I know. I mean, I'd be like asking you a million questions. You're like, I can't.
Yeah.
And you know what? That was Joe Jackson stepping out from his album.
Night and day. Woo! Woo! All right, now that that's out of the way. No, I'm just kidding.
That's out of the way. DJ, segue into. Go ahead.
What about you, Sarge? What are you thinking about?
No.
Crazy.
You were following the timeline just wonderfully. And look, this is Mark's show. If I'm not mistaken, you had gotten to the point where you were being introduced to the whole flat Earth concept, and you were looking at some really.
CSA makes a good point there. There's a rule: every quack has to invoke quantum because it sounds sciencey and makes them sound smarter. 100% true. Yes, they do love to use that word and it's thrown around like it's just makes them sound so smart.
A really big topic. The obvious ones being that the universe does not work without some huge leaps of faith from science standpoint, which don't make any sense because, as Michio Kaku said, we're off by a massive margin. So when anyone,
Yes, that's a theoretical That's the theoretical calculations that don't match up to observed reality. Flat Earthers struggle with this fucking shit, don't they?
Tickles me when I run into PhDs that their whole life's work is dark matter. I've talked to some of these guys, and it's like, wait, you're getting funding for this? This is like something you're going to spend the rest of your life on? Oh yeah, we'll crack it eventually. It's like, no, don't think you are. But anyway, so.
And he says, no, you don't think you are. Who says who's he? He's Mark Sargent. He freaking believes the freaking Earth is flat. He doesn't think that you don't know, somebody's going to devote their life, and they may actually crack it. They may actually find the a way of being able to bridge between quantum mechanics and quantum gravity and what we have for like cosmological gravity. There is a way. Somebody will eventually fucking figure it out. There is a way. It's just, this is the whole point. This is what science is. You build and build and build. Somebody else devotes to life, somebody else, and before you know it, we get to the point where then we have expanded our knowledge.
So you were getting to the dark matter part. You realized that the just about everything about the universe that we know, like me 10 years ago, didn't make any sense. I kind of like you. Sorry, let me transition really quick. Which is, I thought the same thing. Which was, it's easy. I know what your first initial reaction though was because I'd been looking at a lot of conspiracies up to that point, and I was like, oh, flat Earth, I can knock this thing out of the park, no problem. Give me 3 days tops. I can do this, right? And
every flat earther has said this. It's like the freaking origin story of every flat earther. Oh, I've seen flat Earth, and I knew. I was like, oh, I'll disprove this in no time. Give me 2-3 days. I'll disprove this. I didn't realize I couldn't. Guess fucking what? I found flat Earth on freaking TikTok freaking 3 years ago, and in about 5 minutes I fucking disproved it. So, yeah, maybe it's not Earth's problem, but maybe it's the flat earthers fucking problem. Maybe it's a you problem, Mark Sargent. Maybe it's a you problem, fucking Mark Gober. Maybe it's a you problem, freaking Vlad from freaking Ironworks. Maybe it's flat earthers' problems that they're just too stupid to fucking figure out the basics.
more I leaned on things that I should have been able to lean on, like alt science and especially NASA. because that's where most people go to. That's their go-to, is like, I'm going to lean on NASA and lean on the space programs because, well, I mean, there's so many things to choose from. NASA should be able to destroy flat Earth very, very quickly.
You can.
And after a while, I use the analogy. It was kind of like opening up this big shipping container full of cardboard boxes, and each one of them is labeled evidence in big red stencil. And it's like, oh yeah, just one. And the more you open up, by the time you're done going through that entire shipping container, you realize it's just empty packing popcorn and a bunch of empty boxes. And then you're looking, it's like, well, then why does everybody believe it? Which is what, one more thing I'll throw at you really fast. I know DJ likes it when I go off on mini rants, but I'm not going to do this because of you. Which is one of my favorite things, and I put it in the quote in the description box of every video I make, was George Orwell. The guy wrote 1984. He wrote this little article in 1946, and he was talking about about science and the responsibility of science to do the right thing, and how people tend to believe in science just because they think they're the smartest people in the room. And he.
So Mark Grooney says there was a theoretical physicist on Tune's channel a few weeks ago with a new valid theory of gravity. Or worth a watch if you want to feel like a flerf in a science class. I think I seen that, Mike. Sorry, not Mark. Mark Grooney. I think I did see that. And they had, it was a. Because I actually did comment and asked them if it explains the vacuum density, the vacuum catastrophe, right? Vacuum density catastrophe, what the fuck it is. And he went, yeah, it completely explains it. But when I looked into it, because I actually did look a little bit in. Now I just kind of gave a quick read, and what I gathered, it was a it didn't explain, because they said they're still working on it. Now it's still a hypothesis and a model that they're still working on. It doesn't explain everything yet, but it's just something they're putting out there to that may help explain things more, or maybe like that. It's still a work in progress from what I gathered. But I looked at it. They claimed to explain stuff, but it was simply like, when I say theory, like it was a theory, it was theological. It wasn't. It didn't have any validity yet. Nothing proved it. It hadn't been tested yet. It was just something of a model they are building, and still needing to test it and then have it peer reviewed and look through and see if it actually holds up to scrutiny and holds up to reality. So it was really interesting, and I listened to a lot of it. I was like, wow, this is really insane. And apparently it does match and kind of explain a lot of things for what they reckon, but they said it still was in the early stages and still hadn't been tested and reviewed and the show to hold up. So Mark, Kiwi Bush is like the time space local bending at the poles. Don't know how. I don't know why. Don't know about anything like that would prove it.
He goes, if you walk, and again, he was not a flat earther by any stretch. George Orwell's not this guy, but he was really curious why people believed anybody in a lab coat. And he goes, if you walk down the street, ask anybody how they know the world's a globe, they'll just say, well, we know. It's a known thing, right? And then if you push them on it and you say, well, how do you know? They'll start getting angry because the gears will start grinding, and then they'll realize it's not that they know, they were told. And there's a very, very big difference between what you were told and what you know for yourself, what you actually know. And I found that fascinating, which is why I put the quote in the description box, which is, this was 1946. There was no space program. NASA wasn't founded until 1958. So how did everybody in the world know it was a globe in 1946? They were told, and their fathers before them, going back generations. So when, going so far back, and I know why people get upset, which is...
That's actually 100% not actually true, because we had something like cartography stuff, which we were able to, we had like geodetic surveying, which we could measure the Earth, and many people had. There's like the American Arc of the Parallel, which measured the American Arc of the Tangent, and then we had the American there's where they measured the distance across India, physically measured all this stuff. There's many different ways we knew the Earth was a globe because we literally fucking measured it. As well as there was like cartographers or stuff, like the oldest globe model, surviving globe model right now is from 1492. 1492 flat earthers that freaking was of the globe, and it didn't even have North America yet because they hadn't discovered it, but they knew that it was a globe. 100% knew it was a globe. The Egyptians knew it was a globe when they sailed south and realized they couldn't see the stars for doing the navigation anymore. They're talented enough to still be able to navigate, but they realized their star charts were incomplete and they had to make it further. And they realized the only way they couldn't see stuff like the North Star, like Thuban and other stars, is because their horizon was in the way. They could see it where it dropped away, and they even knew, suspected that the Earth was a sphere and not a flat plane. Exactly. Like I said, for over 2,000 years, as Mark Gober said, we've known the Earth's a globe for over 2,000 years. And these morons want to argue dark matter. Like, I get this, yeah. I mean, flat earthers want to argue dark matter. Maybe they should first figure out, like, I don't know, how about this, flat earthers? Get a fucking working model. Right? Holy shit. Like, why are they going into cosmology? How about they worry about here? Make sunsets, sunrises, and work, and make all the, and predict, the next eclipse down to as accurate as we can with the globe model. When, where, and what path it's going to take using just a flat earth. But you can't, right? So let's just worry about the basic stuff before you start going on to what dark matter and galaxies and how the universe works. Like, holy shit. And just a quick what do you say? We didn't people didn't know the Earth is a globe back in 1940. What did you say? 1946. First pictures of is it I always want to see V2. Was it V2 rocket? So what did Mark say again? Hold on, I just want to go back a little bit.
Look, you didn't going back. So how did everybody in the world know it was a globe? Which is why I put the quote in the description box, which is, this was 1946. There was no space program.
Really? 1946, there's no space program. Can Mark Sargent then explain how we got this? The first photos of the Earth from space were captured in October 24th, 1946. By a 35 millimeter camera mounted to a V2 rocket launched from the White Sands Missile Range in New Mexico. The rocket reached an altitude of 65 miles. By the way, if you get the full picture, it actually showed. Oh, what's this one here? Here we are. 1947, Earth from 100 miles in space. And they stitched some pictures together. And the flat earthers will freaking hate that. But you can see the curvature of the Earth when they stitch it together. Each one lined up makes a curve. And they always hate this one here, but the first image of the Earth from space was taken by V2 number 13 rocket in 46 by DeVry 35 millimeter movie film camera with a 50 millimeter lens. The camera held a relatively narrow field of view. As a result, the Earth's curve is very slightly visible. but you can see there is a slight curve because it obviously is a narrow field of view. But what is this one here? So when they sent it up and a movie camera, and when they stitched it all together, the images, you can see the curvature of the Earth. This is from 1948. But yeah, they had a space program there. I think wasn't this just after NASA was actually formed, 1946? I think when we went from being NACA, when we went from being the North American NACA, Northern Aeronautics Commission or something like that. Or it was National the National Aeronautics Commission Association or something like that. I can't remember the exact name, but Mikey posted the proof of a distant sun and a globe a few days ago. Don't you believe one of your own? Yeah, very true.
NASA was founded until 1958. So how did everybody in the world know it was a globe in 1946? They were told, and their fathers before them, going back generations. So when, going so far back, and I know why people get upset, which is, look, you didn't have a chance because your father and his father and everybody's father beforehand, you were born into this. So don't get really upset that you were tricked. You didn't,
Oh, there we are. St. Hurston too. The National Aeronautics Space Agency was created in 1958. Oh, okay. The National Advisory Committee of Aeronautics and other related organizations. Okay, it's a 58. Okay, I was wrong there. I do know it was called NACA, which was formed just after or just during the First World War, when U.S. needed to realize they were falling behind in aircraft compared to the Europeans, and so they formed the NACA to help kind of get their aeronautics up to par.
No, you were set at a huge disadvantage when you came into this world. So anyway, sorry, that was how I got into it, and it sounds like when you got into it and you were looking at I was not looking at dark matter when I first got into it, which or quantum mechanics or.
Oh, do we have a baby flerf? Ah, bad moment to that. I haven't seen you around. Right. Well, Bap Moment, do you have any flat Earth evidence that you can present with us? Oh, you're not what's her face. You're not that friggin' that one that likes to go around and friggin' spout all sorts of BS in other people's comments, are you? On the bottom of the society that still thinks we're spinning the ball. Well, I'm open if you want to show me any kind of evidence. How about you present any evidence of your flat Earth? Oh, you want to see a spinning space ball? Not a problem. I can do that for you. But, before that, I did ask you for evidence of the flat Earth. Where's your evidence of flat Earth? I want to see evidence. Come on, I'm open for it. My name is Curious UK because I'm curious. So, where's your flat Earth evidence? I'm still waiting on evidence. Come on, BAP. You got the BAPs for it? Come on. I'm not revolting. I'm gorgeous. Well, I'm still waiting on your flat Earth evidence. Where's your flat Earth evidence? If I show you a spinning globe, spinning space, if I show you the spinning globe, Earth, will you accept it? Still waiting on evidence. Still waiting on evidence there, Bap. So, Bap, here you are. Here is pictures of the globe taken every couple hours, and you're going to see it as it orbit as it rotates. There you are. This was taken on the 15th of December 2025. Sorry, the 15th of July 2025. So here we are. We have evidence of the rotating globe. You can check all the weather patterns and stuff from the 15th of July 2025. This is a picture taken every 2 hours. Now, all a video is a series of pictures lined up together. So that you get like a frame rate of say 30 frames per second. Well, this one here is is 1 frame per 2 hours. Still a video. Here you are, spinning globe. Now, where's your flat Earth evidence? Still waiting on your flat Earth evidence. No, well, I'm waiting for you. Disprove it. Prove to me this isn't pictures, because this is pictures taken from a geostationary orbit at Lagrange point 1 called the Discover Epic satellite. Oh, okay. I think it's time that since Bap, unless you want to come and show me some flat Earth evidence, you're more than welcome to come on if you want. Then I think I'm gonna have to play Whack Control. So I'm gonna give you one last thing. Give me something to put up. No, I'm gorgeous. You're hideous. I know you're hideous. I know you sit in your trailer park, probably after smoking a bunch of meth, and you're lonely after drinking a box of wine, sitting there with your 5 cats. I am gorgeous. I've been told many times I'm gorgeous. I am a good-looking man. I have a loving wife and 3 children, who's probably far more beautiful than you. I enjoy the touch of a woman every single night. Something you'll never enjoy at all. Yes, okay. If my mods, if you want to play Whack Control, have fun. BAP has no evidence, and all they have, and I think I know who it is. All they have is just delusional indoctrination. So, no evidence. No evidence whatsoever. Oh, yeah, hey, you want to see some pictures here? How about this? Look at that. Picture and physical film of the Earth. Holy shit, look at that, eh? Look at all this. This is something a flat Earth will never have. Look at that. All on film. There you are. Thanks, Canadian Speech Advocate. What was the last thing they said? Should be quiet for 5 minutes, yeah. All right, let's continue on here. Yep. So there you are, Bap. By the way, here is some more evidence of the globe, something that Flat Earth has never had. There you are, all on physical film. Oops, didn't it delete their messages? I don't know the strength of my own power. CSA has the power! Yeah. Poor little Flerfy is coming here to troll. Aw, so cute. Oh, look, there's some more evidence. Bop, hey, look at that. More evidence taken from 1946 from a rocket. B2 rocket. Look at that. Holy moly. All right. All right, we're done having fun with that. So we're going to go back to this and let Bap sit here while I destroy her ideologies. All right, let's have some fun.
Or any of that stuff. So yes, please, by all means, when you start getting into it, the universe, all of a sudden, it's like what you thought the universe wasn't. Then what
Right.
happened?
Well, I started asking the question.
So Baphomet, when you have evidence of the flat Earth, if you can show empirical evidence of the flat Earth, then you're more than welcome to come back on here and show me. You can like put a citation in the chat. You can mention something to go. We'll have a look and see. But until then, you have nothing. I have just completely destroyed everything you have to say. Everything you see now means absolutely nothing because you can't even disprove. I showed you exactly what you wanted. You want to see a spinning globe? I just showed you a spinning globe. So that's it. You're done. Toasted. Booked. Debunked. You're nothing.
Ask Mark is, well, how do we know those things are true? But I try to ask people and ask myself, prior to space agencies, how did people know? Well, they were just believed it because they were told it was true. But now we have space agencies, so people tend to anchor to that. The chapter I have in my book, and Into the Upside Down Cosmos on space agencies, it comes later in the book because I wanted to show that the physics we're told is true. It's based, NASA and space agencies use that physics as the basis for their models. So if the physics isn't working, we have a big problem in terms of the narrative from space agencies. That's problem number one. But as I said earlier, direct evidence of a spinning globe flying around the sun would be video footage of such a thing. What do we have?
We have footage of that. We even had the Parker Space Probe.
Have images that are often composite images put together, or snapshots from a high altitude, but not high enough to see a full sphere or oblate sphere.
Really? 'Cause, I'm pretty sure I just showed that. Hold on here. Let me just double check and see. Oh yeah, hold on. Right there. Hold on. Shit. When was this taken? Let me just double check and see. Oh dear me. Seems to be this was taken in was Apollo 11. All right, so 1969. There we are. 1969. We have full images of that. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, that's well, he's lying, so that's easy. That took all of 2 seconds.
Spheroid, as it's supposed to be called. Yep. Or people look at their iPhone and they see the blue marble image, which the NASA artist said was photoshopped because it had to be, and he made it look like the way it was.
The iPhone one from 2012, whatever the heck it was, 2001, was from low Earth orbit satellites taking pictures and going around and taking and stitching them all together. And then he had to stitch it together and he had touched it up a little bit to make sure that all the lines from the stitching and stuff that they lined up perfectly. They were still of the globe. It's like the same thing. If you take your phone and you put it on panoramic and go across, all it's doing is just taking loads of pictures and it's putting and it's stitching them side by side. That's why it has a line in it. You have to keep, if you go up or down. That's why if you do something like that, like a dog run through, you'll see like something you have like 3 or 4 dogs. If it runs the other way, like as your dog's running along, looks like your dog's just being multiplied. That's the exact same thing. It's just going along and it's stitching all the pictures together. It doesn't mean your room doesn't exist. Doesn't mean your room isn't there or that shape. It just means it's a load of it's a composite image. It's a bunch of images stitched together. That's all that was. The blue marble is when they wanted to kind of redo the whole thing for Apple, in which it was the blue marble done from the 1960s. They wanted, 1972, the blue marble was 1972 from Apollo 17. They wanted to reproduce that, but using modern technology and using what you'd have for have the Earth as it was then. That's all it was. They didn't have anything far enough out. Now, obviously, we do. We have the Epic. We have Himawari. We have different things like that. That you can now do. Now they launched the Epic satellite. But before that, yeah, that was what it was. Low Earth orbit and a bunch of stitched together. It wasn't fake at all. It was simply a bunch of pictures stitched together to make one big picture, showing what we'd see.
Look like from space. So when you start to look for the direct evidence of what we're told, a spinning globe with a specific radius flying around the sun, expanding in a massive universe, we don't have those things. And then there are some strange anomalies that I have not heard good answers to. So I'll give one. In any one of these anomalies, by the way, we could...
This Canadian Space Advocate has put a link on the chat for YouTube shorts. Check that out real quick. Pictures of the Earth from... Yeah, Australia itself completely destroys a flat Earth. This absolutely freaking crushes it. So, see here, there's a load. I may have too many tabs open. Lunar Orbiter, 1966. Oh, there you are. Apollo 8. Lovely. All from physical film. Earthrise, yeah. Another one. Now, obviously, those should be turned the other way, but they turned it that way because it looked better. Pictures of the Earth from space. Oh, look at that. Oh, look at that. From the shuttle. Second, yeah, EVA. Oh, of course, yeah, that's an ISS. This is an ISS too, isn't it? Showing stars in the background. Artemis, yeah. That Ryan. I have a video of that. And that's from Epic, isn't it? Very nice. Thanks, thanks, Canadian Space Advocate. Fantastic. There you are for a little flerfy friend there who's probably ran away by now, I imagine. But hey, I appreciate the typing in there. Hey, helping push me up the algorithm even more. So
stop at dark matter. We could stop at dark matter and say dark matter's been falsified. We have to start from scratch with physics. We could say the same
dark matter hasn't been falsified. He's just wrong.
Thing about the Big Bang, because you need the Big Bang to have happened in order for the entire narrative to work for where Earth is and its shape and revolving around the sun and so forth. But in order for the Big Bang to work, there was
not necessarily. Big Bang can explain the expansion of the universe and how certain galaxies and stuff are moving away from us. But it doesn't require for the Big Bang. You can not have had the Big Bang, and Earth would still be a globe orbiting around the sun.
We're supposed to have been 13.8 billion years ago. I don't know how they would know that this happened. There was rapid inflation.
It's called interferometry, in which then we can look at distant galaxies and how they're moving away and the speed, and then using maths and calculations and different formulas, we're able to give a fairly rough estimate. We don't know exactly if it's 13.8 billion years, but that's our closest estimate that we have.
This rapid expansion.
Not that it makes much of a difference on the shape of the Earth.
That needed to have occurred in order for the math to work, and they don't have a mechanism for how that could have happened. So they have theorized there's a particle called an inflaton that caused rapid inflation around the time of the Big Bang. No one's ever.
Yeah, I see. Hurston said Australia's a lovely globe evidence. Perth and Sydney are far enough south from massive distances and big differences in local solar noon. Yep. Of course, even the direction of the sun setting in Australia is enough for people who understand geometry. Or there's the was it in December 22nd, I think, which is like the equinox. Why is it that Tasmania gets more sun, gets a longer day, has more sunlight than Sydney, Australia, when Sydney is technically actually closer to the Tropic of Cancer, sorry. I think it's Tropic of Cancer. Even though Sydney's closer to the tropic where the sun is, how comes Tasmania gets a longer day? Now that's easily explained on the globe, not so easily explained on the flat Earth. And it actually falsifies the flat Earth.
Found an inflaton. So they've never found an inflaton. You've never found dark matter or dark energy. They're theoretical things that are linchpins of the entire model. Okay, so that's a huge problem. But here's an anomaly that anyone can think about. A solar eclipse. The moon gets in front of the sun. And it looks like in the sky they're about the same size because the moon's completely blocking the sun, right? Well, we're told from the mainstream model that the only reason that...
Oh, yes. It's, Hurston is like December 22nd is the solstice. March and are the two equinoxes. Okay, did I say equinox? I meant to say solstice. Sorry. Yeah, December 22nd is the solstice, in which then, if you look at the globe, then I've seen this explained on using a fella who does 3D bundling explain this and how it works. We're using timeofdate.com. You can see how it works. Hold on. There we are. I don't know why I just didn't grab this thing here. So it's explained to me, if you look at the globe here, Sydney's up there, which is close to the tropic. Is that the tropic of... I think the tropic is right there above it. So we've got the tropic there, Sydney's there. But on the 22nd, which is the, as I said, it was the solstice, Tasmania down here, Hobart, Tasmania, actually is longer day and more daylight than Sydney, Australia. Now that is easily explained on here when you have the tilt, and the sun obviously is from here. We have the more daylight here, but it does not work on the flat Earth whatsoever. In fact, the flat Earth, it can't even come to explain that observed phenomenon that happens every single year, and people that live in those areas see it and can attest to it. Crap, I didn't get, where am I here?
That's true is because of randomness. Even though the moon is supposed to be about 238,000 miles away, while the sun is about 93 million miles away, and all this happened after 13.8 billion years of randomness. And in that randomness, it just so happens to be that they look like they're the same size in the sky during a solar eclipse, such that the moon cancels out the sun. Yep. That is quite a narrative. Or, alternatively, call me crazy, maybe they are almost the same size. Maybe they're much smaller and closer than we're told. And if that's true, think about what that means in terms of...
Yeah, but they're not, and we've measured it. That's, you know... Hold on here, see if I can get this up here. I think it was in Stanford University. Come on. I believe it was Stanford University. Distance to the distance to the sun, to I could be wrong here, but let's double check here. It was Stanford University. So echoes, radar echoes from the sun. Man's first direct contact with the sun opens new approaches this study of solar events. So on a number of mornings in September 1958, April 59th, and September 1959, attempts were made for Stanford University to obtain radar echoes from the sun. The data obtained were on 3 days in April have been intensively analyzed with the aid of digital electromagnetic computer, and it appears that the solar echoes were obtained on each of these days. So Stanford University measured the distance to the sun using radar, using echoes with radar. Here's a paper here, just using the flat earthers, like if our friend there, Baphomet wants to look this up. Here is the data from measuring the distance to the sun, and it's empirical that the sun is 100% not local, but is in fact 93 million miles away on average. As Bikini Atoll said, doesn't explain anything about saying that they're local or saying that the same size doesn't actually explain eclipses. In fact, they're both local and the same size. Then wouldn't they collide? But yeah, they don't.
Physics, because physics is based on Einstein's relativity and gravity, that you have these spheres flying around in space, and because of
I think I'm pushing my computer too hard.
spheres flying around in space, and because of their relative masses, they're bending and warping space-time. So we have to have very specific distances between things and sizes of things in order to make the entire cosmology work. So if one of the things in the sky is smaller, closer, farther than we're told, then the gravitational Einsteinian equations are a problem. So think about that. If the sun and the moon are roughly the same size and they're not those relative distances of very big differences, 93 million miles versus 238,000 miles, and then the relative size differences, if that's not true, then we have to rethink so much.
But they are true, and we know they're true because, well, guess what? We measure them. Oh yeah, by the way, people have actually been to the moon. Several times.
It's just so mind-blowing, right? I mean, I want to recap really quick because obviously our audience knows all about the cosmology.
Oh, by the way, just for the flat earthers in the audience here. Oh crap! I just realized I am still showing my other screen. All right, no worries. Yeah, so obviously we know that the measured distance to the moon with lasers, as there's retro reflectors on there left there by the Apollo missions, and we do this on a regular basis all the time. Lunar laser ranging, as well as you can have ham radio operators do moon bounce all the time, and they can confirm themselves without having to rely on anybody that that the moon is in fact 250,000 miles away. As because we know the speed of light, we have measured this; it's empirically proven. And then using that, we know that using a moon bounce, using a radio signal, we can bounce a signal off the moon. Yeah, I don't know if she'll be back or not. Is that not what's his name? Bendy Water, or the hell her name is, Lindsay Boa? I'm pretty sure that was Bendy Water. I actually don't know how I could check to see who's in the stream or not. That was the one that harassed the crap out of the Drunk Debunk Show, Mike from the Drunk Debunk Show, wasn't it? Still doesn't explain eclipse to flat Earth. No, he never will. Actually, he'll just say it doesn't make sense. There's not really beginning at all. There isn't really any real flat earthers. They're normally globe deniers, and it's because they're too stupid to realize the basics or to look it up, or they just don't believe any of the stuff. But yeah.
But for you, and on your journey, you're started with an end to an upside down thinking. Right there, you're already saying an end to the upside down. I mean, how much more perfect could it be setting you up to write this book, an end to the upside down? Did that just blow your mind when you were like, you know what? Was there a moment where flat Earth started to click and you're like, I know what my book's going to be called. I know what I'm going to do. Like, walk us through that moment?
Well, I can't take credit for the titles. I have to give it to my late publisher, Bill Gladstone of Waterside Productions. And I give Waterside Productions a ton of credit because they continue to publish my books. I send them manuscripts. They don't know what's coming. And I think they're going to think I'm nuts.
You're like,
but
this
they say,
guy, okay.
they say, okay, you've done this in a professional way, and they publish it. But my first book, I was still working in Silicon Valley. I got lucky. I reached out to Bill at Waterside.
They probably do think he's nuts, but if the books sell, they're going to make money. Who are they to say, right? They look and go, yeah, okay, this reads all right. Make sure spelling errors, nothing like that. That's going to be too derogatory. And they go, yeah, sure. This guy wants to sell, puts his name to it. They'll print it. They'll publish it. As long as you make money on it. Yeah, sure. Have at her.
Right. And he said, let's work together. And he said, I love the book. Let's call it an end to upside down thinking. And he was very good at branding. He was involved in the
Jim Daniels said Mushly. Mushly, yeah. She also was something was that she was in Mike's chat for a while and other people's chat, something to do with what was it? What she kept saying? She kept had a different name, something to do with I can't think, some sort of political movement. I think the woman's got like freaking like 20 different stock accounts. So.
In the For Dummies series, DOS for Dummies was the first one. So he saw in me that I would be writing more books. At the time, I thought it was just one book, but he knew that things were inverted everywhere. So once we had the title for the first book, An End to Upside Down Thinking, it was much easier when these other topics have come up. Oh, well, we're talking about liberty and politics and end upside down liberty and end upside down medicine. But that was Bill's doing.
Well, it's, the book is called An End to Upside Down Cosmos. And to touch on the one page that I bookmarked kind of gets into what we're talking about with space and NASA, and it is towards the end of your book. But there's two things that I want to ask you. Number one, what's your
Canadian Space Advocate? I would think that she's actually worse than Dick Wayne. So at least Dick Wayne tries to come up with something that answers. All she does is just throw hate and slander. And she only has, sorry about that. She only has about like 5 different insults that she uses, and she just recycles them over and over and over again. She's like, at least Dick Wayne attempts to try to answer questions. She just throws insults.
elevator pitch if you're trying to throw flat earth out there to someone who's maybe never heard about it, or you're just kind of planting seeds? Because one of the biggest pushbacks that we receive as flat earthers when we try to talk about it is how it's too hard to fake. It's too big of a lie. So how do you combat that? And we want to hear your everyday flat earth pitch.
Well, I always start with the dark matter and dark energy, unified theory, reconciling relativity and quantum, especially to someone who's well educated and knows that stuff is there. They're like, oh yeah, that's right, we've got a big problem. And then it depends what anomaly I would think of. The solar eclipse one, I think that's really hard for people.
Sure.
Because they know, so they've seen that before, and they're like, wait, they do look like they're the same size, and I believe in randomness, but wait, how could it be? That one gets them. And then I like to talk about like the Selenelian lunar eclipse, because they can look that up. And it's a type of lunar eclipse, and it's supposed to be caused by Earth being in between the sun and the moon. So Earth is causing the shadow on the moon. And there's an image you can find online where Earth is.
Yeah. Just quickly, I just looked up that Baphomet that, and it is that's her channel. If you can see that. I just wanted to confirm I knew which flerf that was, and this is the one. If you see that, that's the one where she was trolling and like doxing Mike from Drunk Debunk Show. So yeah, that's who that person was. She's the one. That was the one where she was That was the one where she was making fun of Mike Mike over IP, making fun of his wife and everything. So yeah, a real piece of shit, that one. Yes, that's the one. Marxist trash. That's the one. Yes, exactly.
Is in the middle, and the sun and the moon are to the side, and Earth is causing the shadow. But yet, in the Selenelian lunar eclipse, you can see the eclipsed moon in the sky at the same time above the horizon as the sun.
Yeah.
So the answer for mainstream science is what you're looking at is basically a mirage. You're not actually looking at the sun and the eclipsed moon. There's refraction of light, so it looks like they're there, but they're not actually in the location where you see them. And that's a tough one for people, because they're like, wait, no, so I don't think that sounds right. And they're like, have I even heard of that eclipse? And they Google it, and they're like, oh, actually, that does occur. It's not every lunar eclipse, but this is a
Selenelian eclipse. I cannot speak right now. I probably spelt it wrong. So it's a rare lunar eclipse where the bottom of both the sun and the moon are visible at the same time. The same time, either on the sunrise or sunset. The unusual event is possible due to atmospheric refraction, which bends the light rays and creates the illusion that the sun and moon are higher in the sky than they geometrically are. As Selenium occurs for a short time during a total lunar eclipse when the moon is rising or setting. Yeah, I've heard the name. I really should have looked it up, but oh. All right, because all right. So I see, because of the refractive conditions, where it's over here and there, so we get the occurs when the sun and the moon are observed above the horizon during lunar eclipse. Refraction bends the light rays and lifts the image of the sun and the moon, typically 0.06 degrees. Both appear above the horizon, but only just. All right. Flat Earth assert that Selenium should not be possible if the Earth is sphere due to the fact that Earth, the sun, and moon are 180 degrees apart during the lunar eclipse. In reality, Selenium is possible because the Earth's atmosphere refracts light. Yeah. As flat earthers love to ignore refraction unless they want to claim it causes some sort of like magical lensing effect. Coolio. All right, that's kind of cool. I'll have to look for that one day. That'd be a pretty cool, cool shot to get, wouldn't it?
a known phenomenon. And there's one website that I quoted, science website. They say, well, it seems impossible, but that's because you haven't thought about the refraction of light, so you're not looking at what's actually there.
Well, and it just goes to
As Steve Hurst says, a lunar eclipse is every lunar eclipse if you're in the right place at for that eclipse. If you're in the right place at the right time, then yeah, you probably would see that. But what I see is rare is because it's not normally something we see from. I personally will see from where they normally live. I think that's what they're trying to say is rare.
to show you how brainwashed our system really is, not just with all those other things that you've written about, but when it comes to the cosmos, most people can't tell you what the curvature rate of the Earth is. They can't tell you how all the directional speeds that everything's allegedly doing, let alone the fact that you need the dark matter to hold everything in place. So, I find
we don't need dark matter to hold everything in place. Dark matter only is something that is dark matter is only really something that affects for like galaxies or the universe itself and movements.
really great kind of anecdote opener with friends or family, just like, so if I were to ask you, let's say a few questions about our cosmology, how fast is the Earth spinning? How fast is it moving around the sun? How fast is the sun moving in our solar system? How fast is the solar system? How fast is the universe expanding? And I don't expect you to know any of that, but isn't it odd that you don't have any recollection or haven't even heard these things thrown out your whole life, or the curvature rate? So maybe
because most people don't give a shit about the they know the Earth's a globe. They see sunrise and sunset, and they see things disappear over the horizon. They don't really care. It doesn't affect their life about how fast the Earth's rotating. They know it rotates once every 24 hours, right? That if you ask somebody how fast do you think the Earth is spinning, they probably say, I don't know. They go, well, how long is a day? And they go, like a full day. They say 24 hours. They go, okay, so it does one revolution in 24 hours. You probably go, oh yeah, of course, yeah, that makes sense. Like, it's fucking like that. If you said that, and if you said, oh, it's mileage, all that, doesn't matter. The Earth rotates one revolution in 24 hours. Fucking basic, right? But most people, the day-to-day life, it doesn't matter. If the Earth was flat, freaking shaped like a freaking hot dog, whatever, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to them. They gotta get up, they go to work, they do this stuff, they come home, they spend time with the family, they go like a holiday, once, twice a year. They pay the bills, pay the mortgage. That is their life. They don't really give a shit. They don't think about how fast the Earth is, and the Earth is, how fast it's going around the sun. They know every year, it goes around once completely. You have goes around once. You have summertime at the same time every year. And they don't think about how fast you go around the middle of the galaxy, because who gives a shit? It's one complete revolution around the center of the galaxy every 256 million years. Does it matter to a person? No, not really. Nobody's gonna give a shit about that, right? It fucking doesn't matter. The average person doesn't care. Doesn't affect their lives. So they're not gonna know this stuff because it doesn't really matter. It's not their framework.
Why are you? I've heard Mark say this all the time. Sargent, he's like, so why are you defending it? You're. And my uncle just did this to me recently, and we were very calm and collected. It was all loving, but I think he was just
because flat Earth makes no sense. The Earth can't be flat. The Earth is a globe. It's been empirically proven, like science and everything's already proved it. So people defend it because they're like, no, you're wrong. This is dumb. The Earth isn't flat. Like, you're just a lunatic.
Sitting there going, yeah, dude, I've never even thought about these things. We take it for granted how stable, and famous cosmologists will say, well, the universe is fine-tuned, and we can't explain that either. But it's so reliable to be on the Earth and to know that, like, what, at any second, we're not going to just have a random rotation or a random blip in space and then everybody gets flown off or squished to the center, something crazy happening. Odds are that's not happening if we're really a ball in space. But when you come to the flat side, you're like, that will never happen because we're definitely not floating out there in an endless expanding vacuum, right? So it's just crazy, because what I'm seeing with you is, it was like stepping stones getting to this point, but having your title of the book just already beautifully it was like somebody knew you were going to be writing this book, An End to the Upside Down Cosmos. It's kind of a little too poetic in my mind. And how has it changed you? Like, knowing all that you've known, all the research, where are you at today, and what do what's exciting for you for the future?
Well, I have the same questions that I started with in the beginning of this journey. Who are we? Why are we here? And more recently, I started to ask, what does here mean? Because for a long time, I assumed here was the cosmological model. We're a pale blue dot, one little speck in a massive universe. But now I have many questions about that, of course. So I'm very curious as to what is this place? Mm-hmm. How did it become so deceptive? Who are we within it? What should we be doing here?
So this guy's trying to claim that something's created this Earth, but it's deceptive. So are they trying to say that their God is a liar and a deceiver? Is that what they're trying to say? Like, what a freaking pessimistic outlook. So they just think that they have a creator who's purposely made this earth, made this realm, whatever they want to call it, a deceptive way. It's a lying thing. Like, holy shit.
To what extent are we being obscured intentionally from the nature of reality and from the nature of ourselves? And how can we be liberated? These are the questions I'm constantly asking myself, because the answers to those questions will inform what each of us might want to do on a daily basis and how we spend our time while we're here.
Absolutely. It's what happens to you. Can't.
I mean, you could not ask any of those questions and it still wouldn't affect your life, right? Most people's lives, 99% of the people wouldn't give a shit. They could never ask those questions and it wouldn't affect how they form their life. How about just be a good person? How about live life to the fullest? How about just have, love your family, love your loved ones, just, make, maybe, I don't know, build something, build a business, build something, make your mark. Just live a fulfilling life. We're not here for very long in the grand scheme of things. So you can do that and never even care about what shape or the earth and stuff like that. You can look at the stars, love them, enjoy them, and then you can just get on with your life. And it would make no difference.
Can't get to the side and not start to question our purpose in a different way and start to look at creation a little more closely. Like,
still here, see, you make a good point. How did it become so deceptive? You believe the lies, and now truth must be lies for your beliefs to be true. Yeah, I think what it comes down to is that I think it's this last time, Mike Gober, Mark Sargent, DJ Curious, and the Peanut Gallery, he never fucking talks. He makes a grunt at the beginning, and that's it. I don't even know why he's here, to be honest. I've never seen this guy ever see anything. They want to feel special. They feel so inadequate in their lives. They felt so disheartened. I think Mike Gober was probably working this job, doing this thing, doing the grind day in, day out. And he just felt like there needs to be more. And suddenly he started probably watching YouTube videos, sitting there bored one night, and something come up and got him thinking, and he started running with stuff. And then, what? He felt like, I'm onto something. And then he started to feel special. He felt like he had some special knowledge. And so now he's gone, and the more he felt like, was consciousness doesn't come from inside your brain. It comes from some magic force somewhere else, and we're just puppets or robots just in control. You felt special, and then you did something else, and people went, wow, and he went, oh, I have this special knowledge. And so it's just snowballed into more and more and more, and now he's going on to everything, and now he's saying that everything's a lie, we're all lies, but he has all the special knowledge because he's a special kind of person.
when you see, I was thinking about insects today, all the variety, all the different designs, the colors, just all the way that they do their little jobs here on the earth, toiling the soil, and I'm like, something had to think and keep track of each and every single one. So, it's.
Nope, it's called evolution and physical adaptations. And the fact is that things are passed on, and maybe there's different things because they've developed for certain specialized jobs, because one thing led to another, and they found there was a niche and they succeeded in it. And so then they evolved that whatever evolutionary traits that came up that gave them an advantage, or then were able to, one change into another, and before you have mutations, which once are beneficial, then they eventually became an evolution because they had that many that is separated. Like you have, like what they call it, the London Underground mosquito. It evolved that much, and now it feeds primarily on mammals like rats and people and stuff like that. But it cannot breed with its normal above ground mosquito, which feeds primarily on birds and I think it's mainly birds actually on them. They've actually separated. They're actually technically two. They're both mosquitoes, but they're different species of mosquito, and they can't actually breed anymore. And they have and they both specialize in what they do. So, so you can have different bugs because they're simply called evolution over millions, if not billions, of years.
definitely been a mind-blowing experience for me. Like the programmer here, the architect, the designer, the coder, quote unquote, aka could, insert God here. The mind of God is just far beyond.
Good point. Yeah, Lindsay Bob brings up a thing. A good point, actually. I've heard this. It is estimated that over 99.9% of all species that ever lived are extinct. Because you have survival of the fittest, and certain things obviously changes in environments and stuff like that. Then one species isn't able to evolve and change fast enough, or is specialized, and now the specialty is now becoming a disadvantage, and then they tend to die off. While other ones that maybe can take over that are able to adapt or are able to have multiple specialities are able to then live on. Billions of years is a long time, yep. And things change. Even look at the human species, right? Look at us, look at people on average 150 years ago, right? Now, in the grand scheme of things, when it comes to the Earth, 100 years isn't very long, right? 150, let's just say 200, right? Let's say people were generally smaller. They had different physical adaptations. But one thing is, like, you see, look, if you go, like, I've been to like castles here, you walk through and go, why are the freaking doors so small? Like, how do these people walk around? They were all generally shorter. They were smaller people. Now, part of it is malnutrition and environment and stuff like that. Now we tend to be a little taller, a little more bigger around the stomach and stuff like that. But there was adaptation. We have, because our environment, especially the Western world, has changed, that we have grown, we have changed in different ways, right? And then, like, you can have different things of like I suppose, like, there's probably people getting less, have less hair on them than me back in the day, where, we weren't living, now we have heating and stuff like that. We don't have to hold as much heat against us. We have better materials to hold heat against us. So then people tend to not have as much body hair as they did maybe hundreds of years ago. We tend to have, I guess, like, our noses are a little different. There's subtle little changes that has just been passed on, and then you've got things like your appendix. We don't need appendix anymore. Tonsils, you don't need your tonsils anymore. They served a purpose back in the day, but now they've gone to the point where they're just not really needed anymore. Same thing with like wisdom teeth. My wife has no wisdom teeth. She was born, she had no wisdom teeth. She's never had them. We don't need them because we're not chewing like hard fibrous plant materials to try to crush them. I have my wisdom teeth. Freaking pain in the ass to get in. Yeah, she didn't. So, and I don't know if my kids are having them or not. I don't know. I don't think we've had that. So we'll find out probably when you get older. But she may have passed that trait on.
Whatever this world that we've grown up in wants to give it credit for. Right. And it's a trippy thing when you start to see how many lies there are in place to keep us kind of zoned into what you thought was going to be happiness. Your educational background, going into finance, and just maybe having the big house and the money, and going and waking up maybe when you're 60 going, well, I achieved so much from mankind standards, but feeling an emptiness. But it's such a blessing to figure that out way younger. And that's kind of like where I'm just opening up to the audience and to you guys. Like with my career, I could be in a certain place, but because I haven't been able to focus the past 7 years on making money as my number one goal, I was also researching these similar topics as you, Mark, and getting to flat earth was kind of like, oh my God, there's so many things fall into place now. So did you have an aha moment?
So it comes down to the fact he couldn't get his fucking life together. He felt inadequate, and then suddenly he felt like he got some special knowledge, and now he feels better about himself.
That you're like, maybe was it an emotional experience for you or a release? Like, I think it's important to kind of talk about how it changes you.
Mm-hmm. Because a lot of people ask me, even before I research the topic, why do people care so much about the shape of Earth? Mm-hmm. And to me, it's not even the right question. The right question is, we need to understand where we exist. Where are we living? That is relevant to understanding why we're here and maybe the history. So I'm drawn to that aspect of it. But I found that it was a very liberating experience because I realized so many of the things I was led to believe, because science had said so, violated common sense. Like, for example, we've never experienced Earth's motion unless there's an earthquake. We've never experienced...
Well, you don't need to, because I think was it the motion we experienced, the tangential, I think the speed was 0.0069 RPM, which isn't very fast, right? Then you're thinking like, if you're thinking like the speed, like the feeling the not the tangential speed. What I call it, the force of us being pulled out from the spin is 0.03 is it 0.034 meters per second squared up, but then we have the downward velocity of 9.8 meters per second squared, 9.85. So I think it's something like and this is only at the equator. You still got 9.75 or 9.7 something meters per second squared pulling you down. You're not going to feel that difference. So we are not developed to feel that speed.
It's the rotation at the equator of roughly 1,000 miles an hour, which is faster than the speed of sound, flying around.
But it's weird because I put up a video a while back where, because I actually wanted to just get him to kind of see that. I put a video up of the oh crap, Concorde. Sorry. Put a video of the Concorde in flight and somebody sitting there. The Concorde was doing 1,300 miles per hour and nobody could feel that. Nothing moved. The guy sat there, long stem wine, a glass of champagne sitting in front of him. Not a ripple, not a shake, nothing. Curtains in front of them, never, even when they're accelerating and putting afterburners on, curtains didn't fly back, nothing flew back, people walking up and down the aisle, nobody felt. As far as you knew, if he never looked outside, you would not know. You'd think he was still sitting on the runway with the engines just sitting there idling. Wouldn't know the difference. So why would you think you'd feel the Earth's rotation, which doesn't change, when people flew on the Concorde, which went faster than the rotation of the Earth, and nobody felt the difference? You would swear they were sitting still because there's something called physics. Like, it's just so stupid that you think this stuff. You can go on the plane, you can stand on the plane, walk around, you have your food, jump up and down, walk back and forth, and nobody knows the difference.
Around, expanding in this infinite universe and so forth. We've never experienced motion. We're told we're moving in all these different ways, and we've never experienced circular curvature. Excuse me.
Bullshit, because yes, we have. We can easily observe that and measure that. Any land surveyor can measure the curvature of the Earth. So flat earthers always make all these claims without ever proof. Show proof. Show measurements of flatness. Show measurements they're not moving. Something like the gyroscope was actually invented to actually demonstrate the rotation of the Earth. That is why Foucault, who developed the Fulcrum pendulum, also developed the gyroscope, and he developed it because it was a more accurate and easier way of showing the rotation of the Earth.
Spherical curvature. This is an important distinction. Circular versus spherical. People will say, well, I went on an airplane and it looked round. Often they're talking about circularity.
Bikini Al Tolbert have a good thing, says he could have said, which is a lot slower than the speed of light. Well, yeah, that's true. Yeah, it is a lot slower than the speed of light.
And that has to do with the way our eyes see. There's something known as an azimuthal grid of vision. So if you're out in a big field, it looks like we're in a dome because of the way we see at a distance, basically. But a circle is not the same thing as a sphere. A sphere means you would see down and away curvature because you're always at.
We do. You can measure the horizon dropping. I've done it myself. Actually, you can get if you have an iPhone, you can get the Theodolite app, or I think there's another app you can get on Android, in which you can measure the drop of the horizon. And I've done videos to show this, and you can see the horizon does dip. And that's because if you're standing and you look, especially somewhere like the ocean, so like that, you can see the horizon dips below eye level.
At the top of it, so it should be going down and away. We don't actually see that. I mean, we do have some footage from above where there's a fisheye lens, like Felix Baumgartner doing an expedition from high up there, and it looked like there was down and away curvature, but he used a fisheye lens, which distorts the image. So my point here is, we're told all this motion and all this spherical curvature, we don't see that. Okay, that was a big one for me.
We do.
We have to just rely on other people and rely on math that is based on dark matter, dark energy, and everything else. But this topic of cosmology actually fed into my metaphysical questions about what are we doing here? Because if we're not being told the truth about where we live, and it seems like there is intentional deception here, it's not just ignorance, then why is it we would be kept in a state of ignorance? Is there something?
He keeps bringing up dark matter and dark energy, right? The funny thing is like dark matter has to do with how the relationship of galaxies work and how they move, right? It's nothing to do with the shape of the Earth. Dark matter is not doesn't even come close. There's not enough dark matter. It doesn't actually affect the shape of the Earth. Dark matter is only something where it starts to have its dominance when you're talking the galactic scale or the universe, and how motions are in the universe of galaxies, of massive, huge things. That's where you have in dark matter. At our local level, at the solar level, like at our solar system level, dark matter isn't actually a variable. It's so small. It's just not even worth it. It's not even really a thing. It's not enough around it for us to worry about. Really? Because I'm sure the first version of the gyroscope was invented around 1812 by German physicist John who called it a machine. But 40 years later, Leon named it the gyroscope. It's funny, but I just put in who invented the gyroscope, and I got Leon Foucault. The invention of the gyroscope is usually attributed to a French physicist Jean Biard Leon Foucault in 1852. All right, he certainly invented the word. And also used the gyroscope to demonstrate rotation of the Earth. All right. In 1952, a French physicist Leon Foucault. I learned something new. It was a German physicist. However, the gyroscope was actually invented in 1812 by German John Grumman, who called the device a simple machine. All right, okay. I appreciate that, St. Hurston. I was given the wrong information. So he used the word gyroscope, but it was actually invented in 1812. Okay. I appreciate that. Thank you for correcting me on that.
Thing important that's being hidden. I mean, my first book could end upside down thinking. It's basically, if you believe consciousness comes from the brain, it's hiding spirituality, because spirituality is built into the nature of reality itself, based on what I now think is true from a lot of science and philosophy. Wait a second, so that's being hidden by believing that consciousness just comes after 13.8 billion years of a universe, and then Darwinian evolution, and then magically a brain develops and consciousness pops out. Wait a second, if that's not true, we've been deceived about who and what we are, and maybe there is a higher intelligence, and maybe religions and spiritual traditions were onto something. The cosmology piece fits very well into that. If Earth is
I don't get like these guys. Let's just say they believe in or like a religious flerf. They believe there's a higher consciousness, like a god or an entity. So do they believe that their god created a flat disc surrounded by an ice wall and then put a dome over top of it? You know what that sounds like? That sounds like a prison. That sounds like we're in a petri dish with a lid on top of it. Is that really what you want to believe? Do you want to believe that we're like some like science lab experiment invented by from some high schooler or something like that? Like what? Like how would we know? Right? Do you think we're a bunch of like little microscopic things and it's just like making he's made some sort of like enclosure or something like that, and we're all like little pets? Because that sounds like either we're pets and we're living in some sort of glass dome in some sort of terrarium, or we're and by some entity that we're going to determine a god because they created us and we can't expand it? Or do you want to believe that either we're a species, maybe among other species, who knows, right? We don't know. There's other things out there. We have a massive, huge, ever-expanding universe of infinite stars, and possibilities, and exploration, and that we are still quite young as a species, and we're developing and getting better and developing. And one day, maybe in 1,000 years, well before when we're all dust to the wind, that our species and our ancestors will eventually grow, that we'll start expanding and exploring out into the stars, and that we'll have colonies on Mars, we'll have colonies on maybe Europa, well maybe we'll have wormhole technology or flash warp technology that can go faster than light or something, or bend space time around us, or some stuff. I don't know, right? On this, but maybe we had developed and expanded that much that now we're exploring the cosmos, and we have infinite possibilities and adventures and other things going on. That sounds so much more better and so much more optimistic than we live under a glass dome on a flat disc surrounded by a wall in a prison that will never ever leave, that we can't leave, or we're going to live here, die here, or we're never ever going anywhere, and there's nothing more for us, just this. Man, that sounds just so disheartening. That sounds so shit.
This isn't just a random speck flying around the sun. Like that image we all see and we learned in school where the sun's in the middle and you have Mercury, Mars, and Venus and Earth. And
as Bikini Atoll says, I'd rather be a monkey on a spinning rock flying through space. Sounds fun. Yeah, that sounds fun, yeah. It makes him feel special, but I think it's also because, as Canadian Space Advocate said, it makes him feel special. But I think it makes them feel special because their simple minds can't comprehend, and maybe it's scary to think that there's so much more out there, and they want to feel like they have a special sky daddy looking after them, or they want to feel, like I said, I think it's that, or they feel like they have some special knowledge, and because they feel so inadequate in their lives and so disheartened, that it makes them feel like they have something nobody else has.
Earth is one of the planets. We don't have that from any space agency. That's a model that's been created. What if Earth is not actually a planet like those other things in the sky? Earth is its own thing. And what if everything moves around Earth? Now you're starting to question.
Right. So is he admitting that, it sounds like he's admitting that we look at like Jupiter, Saturn, Mars, stuff, that they're planets, but we're not. So he's trying to say that there's other planets out there, but we're some flat disk. Why? Why would we be a flat disk but yet they're planets? Because we can observe that. I mean, just recently, Reg Rhetoric showed the one of Saturn's moons going across the surface, right? You can see was it occultation, whatever, transit. Transit one of its moons. You can see the shadow on the Earth, on the planet. So yeah, that's rather that was rather cool. And I've seen that. I've taken pictures of Jupiter and about 4 of the Galilean moons. And then I've took a picture weeks later, and you can see that they're in different places. They move. And people can actually observe Jupiter actually rotating, because it takes a few hours, and you can actually see it rotate. So that's obviously they are planets. Why aren't we?
And what's known as the Copernican principle, which is an important philosophy in modern science. It says, Earth doesn't occupy a special place in the cosmos. As Stephen Hawking said, we believe it on principles of modesty. Because you know what? If we were special, maybe there's an intelligence or a creator that made everything. And this ties back to my first book of kind of hiding spirituality, hiding the higher intelligence. So that compatibility made the light bulb go off of, okay, it's not just about consciousness and the science of the body that we've been deceived in, but it's actually cosmology as well, because it's hiding that higher spiritual intelligence. So that was a big one for me in terms of further validating the deception of this place. And it makes me continue to wonder, how have we been kept in such a state of ignorance? It's layer after layer of falsehood. And
okay, so because he believes that consciousness doesn't start in the brain, that it's some magic thing somewhere else, then it made him think that other things are in line too. So because he's got some fringe belief that he's just come up with somewhere, that he now thinks that other things, but he has no evidence of any of it. It's just him just having hypotheses and fantasies. his fantasies don't just because you have fantasy doesn't mean it's actual freaking reality.
And the title that Bill came up with, Upside Down, it's inversion after inversion. Every discipline we look at, the truth is the opposite of what they tell us. So that means we live in a place where certainly some people propagate these narratives because they're ignorant, like I used to. I would have said these things are true because I learned it and a PhD said so. But there must be some people who know the truth and they're teaching and they're pushing and they're funding the opposite. Okay, so what does that mean about this place?
Come on. Sorry, my computer's...
The opposite. Okay, so what does that mean about this place? And in a number of my books, I quoted the Nag Hammadi scriptures. These were scriptures found in a jar in 1945, allegedly came post-Jesus era. But basically, these were hidden scriptures, and they talk about a cosmology in which there was a god, a higher intelligence, like highest intelligence, and that god spawned off individual beings, and there was a rogue being that created this world and kept the humans deceived and kept them in a state of ignorance. And even though they had a divine spark, they were...
All right, so as you believe that the earth was created by the devil? Like, fuck, this guy's got some really weird and freaking messed up freaking things. Well, holy shit.
Kept in a state of ignorance. And I'll paraphrase one of the quotes from one of the scriptures. The rulers threw humanity into a state of confusion and a life of toil so that they would be distracted with the things of the world and not have time to focus on the Holy Spirit. So if that story is directionally correct about the nature of reality, these deceptions, including cosmology, make a lot of sense, that there are real dark forces here. And my books, in many of them, especially the later ones, they talk about spiritual war. And the war seems to be about keeping us very disconnected from the truth of our source, meaning our spiritual source, and about the nature of reality as a whole.
I think I know where he's going with this. So he thinks that we are... How do I put this? He thinks that we're beings of light and that we are... we're part of source. So it could be, you can say God, or whatever, like source, a source of everything. And we've been brought here by like is it like the Argons or something like that, which are like these other entities that are evil that want to be God, right? But they're not as powerful as source as the other God. But they brought here and entrapped us here, that we're part of source, and it made us forget what we are. And so that we live here and we're trapped here, and then they feed on our energy, and by making us forget, they were kept in some sort of soul trap where we're recycled back around and around the ground until eventually some of us start to get enlightened, and other beings that are part of source, because sometimes can come here and they're like star children and they can help us develop and become better and grow and break away from the prison and the soul trap. Or some shit like that. Is that where he's going? Because, yeah, I've heard all this stuff before. It's a lovely story, but and interesting, but that's all it is.
Well, and it's not that far off from many ancient mythologies and even the biblical narrative. It's not different than the biblical narrative.
Now, I just like to bring the whole thing, all that story from what I've read, still relies on the fact that Earth is definitely a globe, and that there are other beings out there and other civilizations like aliens and stuff all through the whole universe. And nothing in that I've heard actually says the Earth is flat, or a flat plane stuck in some sort of glass dome. Just the fact that the Earth is a planet like every other planet that's been populated by by people. And I've even heard it even called like a teaching planet, where you come here and you learn lessons, and then when you die, your spirit goes off into the cosmos and you can be reincarnated as like something somewhere else, or part of your spirit can go back and join another part of you, and you've learned all these different lessons, but that aliens and everything exist and everything else. I've heard that. So
narrative that, and I obviously that might be a touchy subject for people out there to kind of default to, but what did these ancients know, and why is there so much wisdom from these ancient texts? That seems to be, it's almost as if these ancients knew the truth, and we're, because of the amount of deception that's been put in place here over thousands of years, it's like the people seeking truth starts to peel away at these lies, and you're getting
speech advocate, speech advocate. So what if the higher power that made us is the universe itself? True, exactly that. In fact, I think it's not science, that some science has shown that the what our bodies are made out of, like down to the atomic level, actually comes from long dead stars, like the helium and hydrogen and the bits that we're kind of made out of comes from long dead stars that went supernova, and all that matter was thrown out into the universe, and that we were actually part of that is us. So essentially, for us to be here, for me to be here, you to be here, stuff, a star had to die for you to be born here, and that you are from the bits from that star, the material and the elements come together and have made you, and that you are essentially just a far long dead star that's been come back as a human. And then when we die, we'll return back to the cosmos, and we'll probably eventually return back to the stars.
Getting closer and closer and closer to what the ultimate truth is. And, it's at this point highly likely that the ultimate truth is there is some sort of creator and we're here for a purpose. And, has someone asked in the chat, I believe it was Run Boston Bear, which shout out to you. He wanted to know, has this brought you peace or have you experienced an increase in peace and joy as you've dug for truth in all these topics?
Yes.
That's great.
Less anxiety than I used to have, because I was anxious being on the treadmill, sprinting and really not going anywhere, or not even knowing where the treadmill was sitting or why it mattered. And now at least there's some direction to it. It hasn't been a smooth ride. In my second book, An End to Upside Down Living, I talk about the awakening journey, and over again in the modern era and throughout history. It is challenging because it requires a shedding and unlearning of so many things, and dealing with internal struggles, trauma, and so forth, to get us to be the most purified version of ourselves so that we can be of service, basically. So it's been an upward trajectory for sure, a lot of evolution and development, but it hasn't always been the most fun. Net though, on the whole, definitely more peaceful. But then I do wonder about the dark forces and how does that work, and what does it really mean for us to break free and to liberate ourselves from this? There are a lot of big questions I have about that.
Well,
So to sum that up a lot quicker is, yes, because I feel a lot more special, and I felt I was very, very disheartened and felt very inadequate in my previous life. But now I feel much specialer and betterer, and I feel like I have special knowledge of things that nobody wants to tell me, and I'm fighting against the bad peoples, the bad forces, essentially.
It takes some amount of courage to speak out on these topics, I would say. I don't want to, obviously I'm sitting here trying to talk about them. You've put your neck way on the line of having your education. And so how have your friends and family reacted to this? Are you finally noticing people in your inner circle? I'm talking about people you would invite to your home or family. Are they kind of going, do they read your books? Are they going, let's just give this, tell us, if you don't mind, what can you share about your friends and family?
Yeah, well, I have a few people always read the book before it's published, which is nice, who are in my close circles. And whether they agree or not, it's good to get the feedback. But I'd say most people in my network that I grew up with and have known throughout my business career and academic career, they don't even know what I'm up to. Maybe they heard that, Mark wrote some books on interesting topics, but they haven't dug into it. I would say a very small percentage even knows what I'm saying. And the cosmology book, you wouldn't necessarily know what it's about. Oh, he wrote a book about cosmology and the Big Bang, and okay, what is that about? And it's not.
In other words, no, nobody around his circle actually knows. Why? Because he's embarrassed. Because he knows he sounds like a bloody crackpot. He knows he has no evidence. He knows people probably question him or probably look at him, and he knows that, for this to get out, for most people that are gonna try for him to talk this stuff, he knows he's going to probably lose a lot of credibility and look like a freaking nutter. He knows this. He wants to have this special knowledge, but he doesn't want to tell people about it because he knows it's stupid and silly and a fantasy, and so he wants to live in this fantasy world, but he doesn't want other people to know because it's all it is. He knows it is. So it's kind of funny that he's keeping this quiet amongst all those friends and family and stuff, because he's pretty certain that they'll probably think that he's a freaking weirdo, and he doesn't want that.
It's not until you read it to say, oh, that's what he's talking about. Or in all the books, you don't necessarily know unless you dive in. So I think I've been largely ignored. That's what it's felt like. But that's not within my control. I'm much less concerned now about what other people are thinking. My job is to shift within myself and then express it so that people can understand when they want to, if they want to. And that's all I can do. I have learned this the hard way many times. Just because I think something is cool and interesting doesn't mean someone else wants to dive in. It might not be their time. And if they're not ready, it's not going to go anywhere.
Those are the truest things.
Yeah, because he knows that he's a crackpot, and so he just wants to try to keep it quiet.
Things you've said, and I've for sure experienced the same thing. We're just some friends. I'm like, like, gosh, we can't even talk about any of this without. And so do you find that you start to gravitate towards new people in your life and obviously learning a lot of patience to not force it, right?
Yeah.
Because they're looking at us, if we're going to be saying that the paradigm is shifted and we don't want to, you can't just go in there and shift someone's paradigm, right? You got to delicately, but with what you've done with your book series, I think this is something that I could purchase as a whole and give to a family member or a friend and going, hey, start here, or even with your first book. And it seems like it warms people up. But are you noticing just in everyday life that there's more of an interest? Like, what are people most interested right now that you're coming across? And
it really depends on the person. I have heard from some mothers that they use my books as part of the homeschooling curriculum for their kids.
Oh dear.
And I still hear some people there.
And then shit like that, parents doing freaking shit like that, which what gives homeschooled kids such a bad fucking rap. Why, people go, you must be homeschooled, right? Yeah, no wonder you're such a dumbass. It's shit like that, because I knew kids that were homeschooled that were, that were quite intelligent, and they were being homeschooled because the schools weren't able to challenge them. But I've also heard of homeschooled kids who are absolute freaking thickos, like don't know shit. And if you go stuff like this, where you teach them some weird back ass words fucking shit that some guy named Mark Gober just freaking wrote that is not based on any kind of facts or evidence and stuff, and it's just based on his freaking crackpot ideas and fucking feelings. And you can use this in curriculum as his homeschooling. Holy fuck. No wonder a lot of these kids end up not passing this shit, and they just kind of go through their life thinking they have this special knowledge and then just get some freaking attitude, but never actually go anywhere in their life. Like, fuck. Don't do it. Do not, if you're homeschooling kids, don't take some rando's freaking book off freaking Amazon and think it's gonna, because his ideas sound cool and sound fun. No, just don't fucking do that shit.
They're blown away that consciousness doesn't come from the brain and there might be an afterlife. Like, that's still the big thing. They don't even know about the other books. It really just depends on where people are in their journey. And I have a lot of compassion for where each person is, because I know where I used to be. I wasn't ready for a lot of this stuff. Yeah. And when I was ready for consciousness, I wasn't ready for politics necessarily. So it's like people are on their own path and we have to let them be. But I think we also have to be active. And that's why shows like yours are so important. And that's why writing books and doing lectures and speaking out, it gives people an ability to learn things. I mean, my journey actually started with a podcast. There was an episode on Extreme Health Radio, a psychic who talked about communicating with interdimensional beings. And then she talked about her podcast where she...
I mean, really? So you started off with some psychic claiming they communicate with interdimensional beings. Wow. Like, holy fuck. Diver Dan, Navy vet says, I've asked for years in every chat where to find flerfs. Where to find flerfs. Why does every Navy chart have longitude lines that converge going north and south from the equator? Crickets, never an answer, not once. Very true. There's a lot of stuff they can't answer. I was in a chat the other day when watching Mikey Smith's live, and obviously Matthew Keem came in there, and I still asked him for evidence, and he had nothing. Fucking claims he has all the answers, can't answer a single fucking question.
She's interviewed a lot of other people who had these experiences. That led me to her podcast called Healing Powers, which led me to look at scientific papers and books. So there's something about being active and putting the information out there, but not forcing people.
And I don't know if Sarge has anything on his mind.
No.
Mark Sargent completely spaced out. Look at that. Hold on, let's just go back. Look at that. Mark Sargent. Oh, he's just in there going, la 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 la, Marky's World, la 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 la, Marky's World. Fucking completely spaced out. He wasn't even fucking there. Though. You watch me ask him, kind of woke up there for a second. Look at that. Oh,
I don't know if Sarge has anything on his mind.
No, keep going. You're good.
No? Okay, well,
you're totally good. I'm not going to break your flow. Keep going.
No, it's so cool, Mr. Gober, to hear how this journey has shaped you. Are you noticing a lot of things you talk about are censored highly? And so how do you see this information continuing to spread, or do you have a sense of what you think is coming?
Well, I think there's two ways to block this stuff. Number one is to ignore, and another is to actually suppress, and both seem to happen. Where certain topics are just not being promoted, where they're being ignored, and others are actively being suppressed. But I actually want to go back to your previous question about how this has been received.
Sure.
What I found is it's taken a lot for me with each book. Each one becomes more and more controversial, and I'm like, oh, am I really going to publish this?
Yeah.
It's almost like I have to write the book to convince myself that there's enough here where I can feel comfortable putting my name on it. And I get to a point where I say, there's too much. Okay, I've got to do it. If I really believe what I believe about the nature of reality, then what more important thing could I do as myself than put this out there? So I say I'm going to do it. And certainly there's some people who are like, okay, Mark went off the deep end. But then this whole world of other people seems to come in. People that I didn't know. You guys. If I had written the Cosmos book, we wouldn't have met. A lot of examples like that of like-minded people. So it's like when you are in your state of authenticity, it's like a frequency that's sent out, like a magnet. Then you start to attract things like you, and the things that are not like you fade out. And we live in a world, I was there myself, of inauthenticity. It's rampant, where people are doing things they don't really want to be doing, and they're leaving out what they actually want to be doing. So they end up in a world that's not the one they want.
Yeah, life shit. Sometimes you have to do things you just don't want to do. But guess what? They need to be done. And sometimes, you just got to do what you got to do. You may not like it until you get to a point where you can do the things you want to do. But you have to get yourself to that point. It's just, sometimes you just got to put on your big boy pants, put on your big girl pants, pull it up, tighten them down, and freaking just get stuck in. Because you know what? Life isn't always fair.
Well, and that's where you try to help your friends and family and be like, hey, this has been, how could you, because if you know that it's being censored and you know it's being suppressed and you know that people aren't talking about it, but yet you have a mountain of evidence and all these different topics that you've just shared with us and written about.
Yeah, but he doesn't have any evidence. All he said was like, this doesn't make sense and that doesn't make sense and, oh, I don't understand this and I understand that. Guess what, people? Guess what, flat earthers? That's not fucking evidence. That's you not understanding shit. So yeah, that's not fucking, they always claim because they don't understand it, it doesn't make sense. That's evidence. That's not evidence. That's just you being a dumbass.
It almost feels like, hey, I try to explain it to my friends, like, guys, you don't need to believe it, but maybe you can keep your eyes and ears open so we can, as friends who value each other's opinions and are there for each other when it comes to processing everyday life, maybe you can just do this for your friend. And I find that it's pulling teeth just to get anyone to watch this podcast. And it's like a silly flat earth, this is the flat earth kind of family show, in my opinion. There's not a lot of, we're not going to be reaching massive audiences unless they're just hiding our numbers because it's so censored, it's shadow banned, it's not going to be recommended, it's completely just, so we're really, the show is kind of tailored for our audience out there and to give them more abilities and resources to go out there and have flat earth conversations. And sometimes talking about medicine or politics or consciousness is a gateway, as a door that's easier. Do you find that flat earth is the hardest one to try to talk about with people, or is there a more challenging one?
Probably. I mean, they're all very difficult, but that one has a reputation, typically by people who have never explored it themselves, and by people who don't know what the mainstream model is that they are endorsing. They don't realize that it hinges on 96% of being dark matter, dark energy, and having no unified theory.
No, it doesn't. Dark matter, dark energy has nothing to do with Earth being a globe. Sorry, but Mark Gober, you're fucking wrong because you're a dumbass.
And yet in the same breath, they'll say, but we can explain things so well. It's like, grant me these miracles, then I'll explain it all to you. It's a house of cards.
No, Flat Earth can't even explain the freaking sunset or sunrise. So let's start with that, Flat Earthers, and we make sure you can get it where it works anywhere on the globe, on your Flat Earth. So if I'm standing in northern Russia, I see the sun's rise and set. At the exact same time, I should be able to stand in Australia and see the sun rise and set, and both places on the same day should work perfectly fine. But guess what, Flat Earthers? It doesn't on the Flat Earth. But guess where it does work perfectly fine? On the globe. So maybe once the Flat Earth gets the basics figured out, then you can worry about like cosmology and how things work, and maybe you can get into dark matter and dark energy. But they'll never get there because you can't even get one model to work. You can't even agree on one model, let alone, or even the 24-hour sun. As much as Flat Earthers have tried, they've failed.
Where the foundation is completely shaky and they don't even realize it. And that's why it's a delicate thing in terms of how to ease people into the conversation. And I try to gauge someone's openness. If I come across someone who's not open, there's no discussion. It needs to be between two people who are sincerely interested in the truth, and then you can perhaps have a discussion about it.
This is why I kind of do this channel. I hope to reach different people to try to get things out there. And when people can see these kind of arguments come up, I try to show places to find it or evidence that you can say, no, this is completely wrong, right? This is not right. Here's the evidence to prove it. I try to make claims and I try to back it up or I have videos. I'll refer to different videos I've made that is based on factual empirical science and data. Bikini Atoll, no, he didn't explain anything. He actually claimed he had evidence, but all his evidence has ever been is he doesn't understand it. That's all he can't explain anything. All he's done is claimed that the globe can't explain it. Because everybody also thinks that dark matter and dark energy is directly related to the shape of the Earth.
For sure. I mean,
But I wanted to ask you guys. I mean, I'm newer to the scene here, and there's been a lot of division. I see this in a lot in the medical area, people talking about virus debates, but especially in the cosmology question. And there's been splintering and infighting. What's the latest there? What do you think is happening? And I'm seeing more people. It seems like they're flipping back to the globe, at least publicly. What's going on?
Sarge, that's you.
Okay, no, that's my wheelhouse. Well, you missed most of the drama, which was it really all of it happened within the last year and a half, which was TFE came about, the final experiment headed up by Will Duffy. And then there was a cascade of events. It started out really as a lot of hype, but it didn't seem like anything was going to happen, which was, they were going down to Antarctica to witness the 24-hour sun, and they were inviting flat earthers, and they were spending an exceptional amount of money to do it, $30,000 a ticket.
But didn't they invite Mark Sargent and he declined? I know they invited his flyer Dave. I thought they invited Mark Sargent as well.
To go down there. And they sent, eventually Jaron and Austin and Lisbeth from our team went down there. And I didn't really care one way or the other because, as you know, most of the people get into flat Earth don't care about the 24-hour sun or really even the sun in general because...
Of course you don't care about the 24-hour sun. You know why? Because it debunks flat Earth.
Sun's astronomy, and as you pointed out, most people aren't into astronomy at all. In fact, 3/4 of the people that get into flat Earth at least get in because of the long distance photography. Seeing things way beyond the curve. So I didn't really care much. And then Jaron started.
They don't actually, because the most of the time other flat earthers lie about the distance, lie about the elevation, or they don't take any things like confounding variables like atmospheric refraction, or they'll go out and take like loads of shots, like say the Black Swan, where that photographer had to go out there for nearly 180 days before he finally got that one shot, that one day, which the refractive index was that high, and at that particular time in that day, in that morning, whatever, that point where the atmosphere or the conditions were perfect for him to really get that shot. As distorted as all those things were, as cranes and everything, all being bent and wavy and everything else, he was able to get that one shot. But it took 180 days, and one day he was finally able to get it. That's that's the exception, and it's not the rule.
Started acting kind of squirrely just before he got down there, and we didn't know why. It didn't really make much sense. And then when
What's that?
way beyond the curve. So I didn't really care much. And then Jaron started acting kind of squirrely just before he got down there, and we didn't know why. It didn't really make much sense. And then when he came back, almost before
Jaron, because when Jaron even admitted he got to when he got down to Punta Arenas, and he could see the sun rise and set in a different way that wouldn't work on the flat Earth, and then also you could see the glow just above the horizon a little bit and see the sun go along, and they could track it and they see it come up again. He was already kind of getting in his head, oh shit, you know what? This is starting to falsify a flat Earth. This isn't working. Yeah, I think the Black Swan, yeah, it's the one with the oil rigs, where the further one, funny enough, is still like where the water sits is like just below the gangway where the boats come up. But yeah, it's just above the water. And also the cranes are all bent and squarely, like they kind of bend around like that because there's that much distortion from the atmosphere and all the and the different thermal events and stuff like that. So yeah, that's the one. you can call Iru Nandusi newer for all. Charles, newer Charles, I don't understand. He's flat earther YouTuber. Oh yeah.
Before the wheels even touched down, he had done a complete 180, and it wasn't. But it felt so forced. Which was, oh yeah, 24-hour sun is absolutely real, which means NASA is absolutely real. And even though I've been doing anti-NASA videos for the last decade, oh yeah, and like he did immediately did this 75-minute video on how SpaceX is legit. It's like, what are you doing, man? You wrote the book on destroying NASA, for the last 10 years, and it felt like something.
Yeah, he realized he was wrong. Also, the fact is that Jaron got onto the fact of watching SpaceX's launches, and you can look and see a live stream when it happened, and you realize for several minutes he couldn't see it, but when he looked out, because he could see directly where, suddenly he could see the rocket come over the horizon and head up, and he realized, doing the calculations and the math, that he couldn't see it take off for several minutes because the curvature of the Earth is in the way. Eventually, it came above that, and then that's where he got onto the fact of, oh shit, you know what? He was missing a lot of stuff, and when he looked more and more into it, he's realized just how wrong he really was. All right, he's from Argentina, but he speaks English too. Yeah, Jaron, exactly. And Jaron went down there to Antarctica on TFE. He said he is fully committed to the fact he wanted the truth. And he went down there, and even Will Duffy, even MC Toon even said the same thing. If he went down there and seen the sunset, MC Toon was going to freaking, he already had a video made. He was going to give up the globe. He's going to go flat Earth. That was it. The evidence is proven. And then the evidence proved what we already knew. The Earth is definitely a globe, and the flat Earth was debunked. Jaron at least is honest enough to say he's willing to put his 10 years on the line and go, all right, I'm going to go down there and I'm going to be honest. If this doesn't work on the flat Earth, if I see this, then the Earth is a globe. If I don't see it, if I see the sunset, then the Earth is flat. And he had lines set in the sand, and he was willing to do that, and he was a man of his word. So you know what? All the props to him. Nira Charles, he's a flat Earth YouTuber. He's from Argentina, but he speaks English too. Send him my email. My email is on my profile, and I'll arrange something. But I'm gonna be getting off here soon because it is 20 to 1 in the morning, and I gotta get up early. I gotta go help a friend move a bunch of stuff. So I'm not gonna give him any kind of. He's more than welcome to come in if he wants, and we'll have a chat. And I'll look at any flat Earth evidence he has, but not tonight. It's getting too late. I've already been on for like 2.5 hours. So
something was going on, and then what I'm trying to get here is the drama felt very, very forced. And then DJ knows the rest of this, which is people that were out of the community for a while. Patricia Steer, who was from the documentary, and Robbie Davidson, who did the early conferences, and Paul on the Plane, who was an early advocate, who had been out of the community for a number of years for various reasons, all of a sudden come back out of nowhere and were supporting Jaron in the chat rooms. It's like, wait, why is this happening?
He's still butthurt about Patricia freaking ditching him and ditching the flat Earth because she come to realize when she looked at the evidence that the flat Earth failed.
And then we find out that they were involved in a crypto scam back at the end of 2020, and they
St. Hurston, St. Hurston. Jaron spent months before asking how a 24-hour sun could work on the flat Earth. Yeah, Joe Hanvey was typical of the standard of answer he got. Yeah, and which Joe Hanvey's model didn't work because one, Joe Hanvey was trying to claim something to do with a superfluid, but you couldn't actually prove how some superfluid was somehow magically floating above on the dome. And then all his observations were from outside the dome. He never stuck the camera inside, so that doesn't make sense. And then he's claiming the sun was outside the dome, hitting it. And none of it worked, and also it's all distorted and stuff. They didn't see any of that. Joe Hanvey's model all lasted all 5 minutes, and it was completely destroyed so quickly that I think Joe Hanvey's like you don't see or hear from him anymore in the Flat Earth because he got embarrassed.
And ran actually sold it on a channel called Axion, not Axiom, Axion, today, and they were selling this, and they didn't create the coin, but they were selling it, and they also got involved. They were getting high on their own supply, and the whole thing, as you know, got rug pulled, like they all do, got rug pulled immediately, and then it was unsecured, which is never a good thing. And my opinion is that the SEC got involved and held these guys as assets for a while, and then had them come in so that when the bottom line was this: there was no mass flipping. It was the Antarctic trip. Again, they spent upwards of $300K to make that thing happen. It's like, who's going to spend $300K to do anything? Was basically a pinned event to give Jaron the excuse to flip. Meaning Jaron couldn't flip for no reason whatsoever. They needed something exclusive to happen for Jaron to flip, and then they used Patricia and Robbie and Paul to support him from the other side.
Well, funny enough, Elizabeth left the Flat Earth as well. She's seen it, and she's no longer a Flat Earther. And I think the fella who was he was also did documentaries as well. He's the one who's making the TFE documentary. He was a Flat Earther too, but he's started questioning the Flat Earth because it didn't make sense. And I think Candace Owens, producer, was down there. He flipped as well. He realized the Flat Earth doesn't work as well. So the people went down there. The only person in the Flat Earther who kind of is stuck with Flat Earth because he needs to grift is Witsit, and that's only because Witsit has nothing else. That's his main source of income. That's why he sells. That's his product. He's a lying grifter, and the only thing is he's now the freaking, the stray dog everybody kicks around now. He used to be the golden boy, but not anymore because everybody's realizing he's a liar.
Side, but that was weird for DJ and I because she came back to Strange World. Sorry, let me preface that. She was never a Strange World host. She and I always did stuff together, but she came on as a host for 9 months and then quit. I know I'm dragging this out, but the chat room knows most of this, which is she quit on right after episode 500. So we get to episode 500, this wonderful episode, everyone dressed formal and everything. And then a couple days later, she wrote this show breakup letter to me, which was like, yeah, so Jaron's right about everything, and I'm leaving Flat Earth, and I'm leaving all conspiracies. Goodbye. It's like, and that was it. That was the last time I ever heard from her.
And Mark Sargent was heartbroken. He is still broken about that now. Like, this is months, a year later. Still heartbroken. Jaron can't. Poor Mark. He thought that was his girlfriend. They were gonna live life forever. She was gonna be there. No, it was a breakup letter for him and everything, and he still hasn't recovered from that. True, yeah. Flat Earthers kick around and Globies kick him around. Yep, because we all know that he's just a lying grifter. As Bikini Atoll said, nobody knows these people. The idea the government agency pays any attention to them is laughable. Exactly. Freaking government doesn't know any. Nobody knows about freaking these guys. Mark Sargent. They're all like, I didn't know about any of these people until the fact that I got into the Flat Earth, the debunking. I started on TikTok and then come on, and I used to watch MC Toon, FTFE, and stuff like that. And because, it's easy for me. I used to put it on, put my headphones in, put it on because I have YouTube Premium, so I can listen to it like if it's a podcast, whatever like that. So, and I can listen. I listen to all the debates all the time. That's because I found them really interesting, and it came up with some really good stuff too.
So it was a weird thing to where even, and I don't know how much you know, but where even when I was talking about, I'm going, wow, that isn't suspicious at all, right? And I say this on air a couple times. Next thing you know, I get a cease and desist letter from the three of them, not Jaron, but Paul and Robbie and Patricia, saying you should never ever say things are suspicious on the show. You should apologize, make a video on it, and leave it up in perpetuity. And on your channel, it's like, what? You can't even ask for that legally. It doesn't even make sense. And so I called their bluff, and that was months ago, and nothing ever became of it. And
all right, Lindsay. This go live in 15 minutes. I'm gonna get off here soon, anyways. I actually promised the wife it wasn't gonna be a long one. I'm already 2:44. So,
but that was the drama, which was it all came because of a guy named Will Duffy, who again didn't get any traction. And so anyway, they were supposed to do a documentary on it, but as you know from dealing with people, it is a tough sell even with your more open-minded people, to convince them that the 24-hour sun is something you can hang your hat on and turn it into a documentary. And so they had a bunch of film stock and they tried to turn it into something and they couldn't find a distributor, and nothing ever came.
That's bullshit. They're still doing it, but the fella who's doing it, he's doing it by himself. He's just a single fella. He's doing his little side thing. He's got a full-time job. They're still doing it. As far as I know, the documentary's still coming out somewhere. Probably even if they have to release it on YouTube, then they probably will. But yeah, it will come out. It was all over the news, the TFE and everything like that. So it'll definitely come out, because the whole thing is that flat earthers go down there. One of the bigger flat earthers goes down there, and then he comes back and his mind has changed, right? That's going to be out, but it's just taking a while to make sure the documentary is a good quality. But yeah, did it not gain traction? Really? That's fucking funny, because I'm pretty sure Will Duffy's channel blew up, and all the flat earthers are still freaking absolutely crying into their freaking handkerchiefs now because of the final experiment. Even now, it's everywhere. They're always trying to explain, run it down. So yeah, no, it 100% blew. Will Duffy's been doing on the flat earth game for what? A year? Not just over a year, and absolutely just destroyed the flat earth. They're still reeling from it. And then he went, all right, I'm done. That was fun. I'm going to go do something else now. And he was done. He just wanted to get out of it. He probably, was taking up time, wanted to spend time with his family. He was done. But absolutely freaking wrecked the flat earth.
Came of it. So now they're just kind of fading away. And they all went back into the shadows, with the exception of Darren, who's now channel. He changed his logo, so now it's the flat earth map with a big X in the middle of it. And that's what he does on a regular basis. And it's like, all right, you make your decisions. But that's the long and the short of the drama. There was no mass exodus, because again, if you don't get in, if most of the people that get in for flat earth get in for every other reason besides that, how can you get them out? The red pill blue thing, it's like they didn't. I knew nobody that got in because Antarctic 24-hour sun. No.
Right. I mean, one single observation of a light in the sky in one location at one point in time, that's an observation. I mean, it's certainly interesting, but it doesn't tell you about an entire model, and certainly doesn't tell you about the ground beneath our feet. So my question is, have you got
100% it does, because the flat earth can't explain it. So it's observing a phenomenon, going down the hypothesis, going, if the earth is flat, the sun will take off, circle away, and disappear into a point, and then come around the other side. If the earth is a globe, it will circle over a head, it'll never set. This is and then how and then you can see what's the independent variables. Well, it's based on latitude. Latitude, whatever, like that. It's based on, so the further south you go, you get to a certain point, you see this, the sun will never set at this time. So it's time of year and location. So you change location and go this time of year, and you will see this. Then also, when you go a certain time of year, and you also see, when you go a certain time of year, you'll notice the moon will do circles. We have a certain location. On 6 months later, you can see the moon. The circles have never set. Both these things falsifies the flat Earth. If the Earth is a flat, the moon would disappear off and take off, and then come back 12 hours later. If the moon and the circles are above you, then the Earth is a globe, right? These are two very fundamental. This is a very fundamental and easy way of doing an experiment. This is the experiment, and this is how it works out. You have a hypothesis. You go down there and either verify or falsify your hypothesis. The hypothesis that the Earth, that the sun doesn't set 24-hour suns in the middle of December, which is the summertime down in Antarctica. They went down there and verified it.
you guys come across any new arguments that make you question whether the globe model, are they putting new arguments out that are compelling?
No, that was the only one. And again, it surprised me because it was, pushing 9 years before these guys came along. And which is, I've been saying this ever since like year 2.
Critical Think's flight from Sydney to Santiago completely destroyed the flat Earth right there. Like there's several different experiments that are done. Critical Think did weight observations that destroyed the flat Earth. MC Toon set up a sundial which showed the sun and set it up to based on a globe model. There's several different things they did. I don't think he could get his gyro compass didn't work. I think at Antarctica, but it worked in Santiago. They measured lines of latitude in Santiago, Chile, and then they went down and they measured the lines of latitude down at Union Glacier and showed how it was different. So yeah, there's several things it did, all which falsified the flat Earth.
Which is like, look, if and I wasn't trying to pump people up in the community, but it was true. Which was like, look, if they haven't.
Yeah, well, yeah, as S.T. Hurston said, before TFE, they won't let us check the sun in Antarctica. After TFE, 24-hour sun doesn't matter. Exactly. Funny enough, the year before all that, I had shown the Australian Antarctic program, and they have live webcams, and I showed 24-hour sun. Several different of the bases the year before that all showed the 24-hour sun off live webcams, and not a single flat earther has ever been able to debunk those. And I even showed the month before TFE happened. I said, this is what they'll see. This is my hypothesis. They're going to see this. They went down there and seen exactly what I seen. And I even showed when MC2 had his gnomon and had the sun go all the way around, I actually showed the exact phenomenon with some flagpoles at one of the stations. Yay! Cool. Blue Jays finally won the division today. Nice.
Come up with a silver bullet for the werewolf that is flat Earth yet. They're not going to find it because but 2 years is plenty of time in the internet to come up with a reason. And so no, the old arguments, which you have heard probably a million times at this point, which is people, they lean on NASA. In fact, my sister's going to send me one of the reasons I was distracted for a second. She sent me a clip of Charlie Kirk, who they asked, actually, one of our advocates. I didn't even know, guy, I have a question. It's like, what do you think of flat Earth? And Charlie's like, no, because I was up in an airplane. And it's like, okay, here we go again. I've heard the airplane argument so many times, which is why, and you've seen the clip probably a million times, I send people the Neil Tyson clip, where he's at that university and he was criticizing the Red Bull jump and saying, that stuff is flat, that you can't see the curvature of the Earth at even 130,000 feet. Right. So why do I have so many people saying they saw it from an airplane? And I try to remind them.
Neil deGrasse Tyson actually has retracted that. He realized that he's just speaking off the cuff. And he actually has come out and said that he was wrong to say that because that wasn't true. He was talking to be able to see like left to right curvature, but you could actually see it, and he was talking shit.
I go, it's kind of like George Orwell, which is, it's not that you see it, you want to see it, and then it projects onto you. And again, it's the 5 lights, 4 lights thing. It's like they see the curvature, which is why I said, good, take a picture of it, hold a straight edge up to it.
Yeah, no, they didn't. TFE didn't solve the problem of the curvature, and also if the 24-hour sun is circling up ahead, then it's one of two things: either the Earth has to be spinning, so they need to prove rotation, which then defaults back.
Which you have focus pendulum, any kind of gyroscope, obviously videos like I showed tonight. The sunrise, sunset. So yeah,
to the cosmological problems that you've pointed out, which hey, they didn't solve them. So no matter what happened, but long story short, Mr. Gober, I was involved in a flat Earth divorce against my will, and whatever it is, what it is, I got dad in the divorce. I stuck with the flat earthers, and we'll see what they come up with one day. Nothing but love. Wish them the best. Yep. But yeah, they didn't solve cosmology. They didn't solve the Big Bang. They didn't solve dark matter. They didn't solve even curvature. So the light in the sky. But hey, check out our Joe Hanby episodes. He's got some cool insights into how this place could possibly be designed and some explanations of why you can see light in multiple places on the Earth at once. And
no, he doesn't. Joe Hanby's model completely fails, and all his observations from outside the dome. As soon as you put the camera inside the dome, it falls apart. And curvature of the Earth is been shown so many times. In fact, any kind of anybody who's doing any surveyor on the planet can show curvature and measurements of curvature. Nothing any flat earther has ever done.
It's kind of a more.
Yeah, obviously, but yeah, the flat earther from Globebusters, Bob Nodell, 15 degrees per hour. He actually measured it several times. In fact, he tried to disprove it, and he kept measuring 15 degrees per hour.
Or mesmerizing realm than we are giving it credit for. it's pretty freaking cool here. And if you want to, but so hey, it was a crazy year, but you coming along at the kind of great timing, in my opinion, because all things are worked towards good if you're seeking truth. That's where my mind goes to. And I just think the people out there that are seeking truth, whether it be medicine or consciousness, entities, cosmology, if you're just got that hunger for truth, which obviously you have to have it to be doing what you're doing and come so far. There's people out there too that, maybe they haven't written books, but they see it, they feel it, they're following it, and they
Everything he said is completely false and lies. Nothing he has said has ever been true. In fact, we are all now slightly stupider from all the nonsensical bullshit he has spewed. So yeah, everything he has said is his facts, not his fact, all his feelings and conjectures and his misunderstandings. And not a single thing Mark Gober has said is actually based on any empirical evidence or facts or studies. So he's got nothing except for he says that he doesn't understand it and he thinks that's evidence.
That we're not surprised to see you at this point if you've already crossed off all those other things off your list, because cosmology is just a big puzzle piece for what is truth. It's not the end all be all for your problems. It's just for your brain to go, okay, there's more going on here than meets the eye.
Anybody ever notice that truthers never actually use the truth? They never actually have facts or evidence and never rely on any truth. They claim they're looking for the truth, but only if it fits their preconceived bias. So I always find that really amazing that that truthers never actually want the truth. They only want what they think should be the truth. And with that, I'm going to call it here tonight. It is getting late, and my wife is asking where the heck I am. I should have been off ages ago. So I'm going to call it. That's about it. I'm going to wrap this one up and call it good there. And and that's it for Mike Goober and Mark Sargent for now. All right. So I will leave it at that. Thanks for everybody watching. Don't forget to follow me for more videos. Click the like button. Click the bell so you know I'm on. And remember, people, Earth's definitely a globe. Space is real. Dark matter doesn't need to fucking make the globe. And but don't forget, stay curious. Have a good night, and I'll see you again. Thanks for coming. Bye.
NASA lies, yeah, that's what I say. Don't have proof or facts in any way. I claim the moon's made of plasma, a place no one can go. The Apollo program's a scam, I can't back it up though. They talk about the ISS is floating in space. You ask me in a pool, I'd say is the case. Satalones in the sky held up by helium balloons. But bro, that's just a lie, cause that's what all bitches do. NASA lies is something I'll never prove. No facts, no evidence, debates I will lose. They say they've been to the moon, I say it's not the truth. I see truth in no way, I hate MC2 when he shows me proof. The firmament is real, a dome up above, but I'll never prove it, so lost that I'm dumb. I know the world is flat, trust your sense of sight. Saying gravity's just a theory is why I'm up at night. NASA is phony like a show or movie, fake like on stage. Truman Show, child's play, it's just but suck at this game. Because I'm just a dick with only my stupid self to blame. But I'm so fucking sure that the earth is flat, based on how I feel with my pop-up flare. Swear my blind faith is what keeps it real. NASA lies is something I'll never prove. No facts, no evidence, debates I will lose. They say they've been to the moon, I say it's not the truth. I see truth in no way, I hate MC2 when he shows me proof. Asking the wrong questions, my beliefs are all faith-based. I can't see the fucking answers right in front of my face. Stanley Kubrick is mentioned every single goddamn time. Somehow he filmed it without nobody dropping a dime. The firmament is a dome, it keeps water in the sky. But when you ask me to prove it, I can't know why. NASA in Hebrew, it means to lie or deceive. My flerf priest told me and blindly I believe. NASA lies is something I'll never prove. No facts, no evidence, debates I will lose. They say they've been to the moon, I say it's not the truth. I see truth in no way, I hate MC2 when he shows me proof.
asking the wrong questions. My beliefs are all faith-based. I can't see the fucking answers right in front of my face. Stanley Kubrick is mentioned every single goddamn time. Somehow he filmed it without nobody dropping a dime.
The firmament is a dome, it keeps water in the sky. But when you ask me to prove it, I can't. Why? Master in Hebrew, it means to lie or deceive. My flirt priest told me, and blindly I believe.